Chapter 1470. Pei Yuqing had never seen Pei Li in such a crazy state. When Pei Li had been in the Pei Corporation, he had only lost control of his emotions. Pei Li seemed to have suffered a huge blow, and had almost completely lost his mind. The terrifying pressure of evolution soared into the sky, and a visible hurricane formed around Pei Li. In an instant, more than half of Cloud Manor was destroyed. Lin Yin stood on the spot in a daze like a zombie. Kill! Pei Li glared at Lin Yin like an enraged beast. However, no matter how angry Pei Li was, he didn't attack Lin Yin. Even so, Lin Yin couldn't withstand the pressure of Pei Li's evolution. Her body was like a lonely boat in the vast ocean. Shaoli! Suddenly, Pei Yuqing's voice seemed to have a magical power that poured into Pei Li's ears. Pei Yuqing's mental power immediately entered Pei Li's inner world. Pei Yuqing was moved by Pei Li's inner world. The originally beautiful scene shattered like a mirror. Soon, Pei Li's world was filled with violent winds and torrential rain. The surroundings were in ruins. The little fellow was naked as he squatted in the torrential rain, allowing the harsh environment to ravage him. Pei Yuqing couldn't describe his feelings as he watched Pei Li's body tremble violently. Pei Yuqing could feel the helplessness and despair of this world. He didn't dare imagine how Pei Li's inner world could be so desperate. This kind of heart was so cruel. Pei Li's past also appeared in this inner world. He had been born without a mother, and his father was often not by his side. When he had been in the Pei Corporation, he had been bullied, and everyone had wanted to stay away from him. Even though Pei Li had lowered his stance and abandoned his dignity, he couldn't blend in. Loneliness and helplessness had long filled his heart. Finally, he had lost control for the first time in the Pei family, and displayed his unparalleled and terrifying power. He had been severely punished and locked up in a small dark room for several months. The people of the clan had become increasingly disgusted and cold towards him. He had missed his mother, but he had never seen her. He had missed his father, but his father had been extremely strict. Helplessness and loneliness had turned into fear and despair at that moment. Pei Yuqing watched Pei Li, who was shivering in the rain with mixed feelings. But today, Pei Li's most beloved mother actually wanted to kill him. Pei Yuqing could feel the despair in Pei Li's heart. He even felt a little suffocated. Pei Yuqing couldn't imagine that Pei Li had been enduring this indescribable pain for a long time. Lin Yan's abnormality today was like a fuse that caused Pei Li's inner world to crumble. He could endure everything in the past, but he could not accept the fact that his beloved mother wanted to kill him with her own hands. While Pei Yuqing was in a daze, the helpless and pitiful little boy, who had been shivering in the storm, started to transform. His face became more and more hideous, as though an ancient beast was about to be born. Pei Yuqing knew that this was a sign that Pei Li's inner world was about to collapse. Once the Pei Li in his inner world turned into a beast, the Pei Li in reality would disappear forever. He would become an inhumane demon, and he would never be able to return. A second later, Pei Yuqing appeared beside Pei Li and stroked his hair gently. End of chapter. Chapter 1471. Pei Li, who sensed something amiss, raised his head slowly and surveyed the man who had barged into his heart. Pei Yuqing bent down and pulled Pei Li into his arms. Then he lifted him up. Mommy was controlled. Pei Yuqing gazed at the confused Pei Li as he spoke softly. At that moment, Pei Yuqing was the most gentle father in the world. He had given all his gentleness to Pei Li. Pei Li gradually stopped struggling in Pei Yuqing's arms. He looked aggrieved. I've been wrong all these years. I only wanted to protect you and your mother, but I neglected your feelings. I was too self-centered, Pei Yuqing said softly. Pei Yuqing and Pei Li were like an ordinary father and son now. Mommy was controlled. She loves you so much, so how could she kill you? She would rather die than hurt you. Pei Yuqing replied. After a long time, Pei Yuqing opened his eyes again in Cloud Manor. Pei Li had gradually regained his composure. Instinctively, Pei Li glanced at Pei Yuqing and turned his head away indignantly. Dad. Pei Yuqing, what happened to Mommy? Pei Li asked Pei Yuqing. Pei Yuqing didn't mind that Pei Li had called him by his name. Isn't it obvious enough? The father-son duo, who had been extremely warm and fuzzy in their hearts, had become like this when they returned to reality. Pei Qian clenched his fists. Although he was a little reluctant, he still said, "Brother, are you a fool? How could Mommy hurt you? Mommy loves you so much. Mommy loves you the most." Pei Yuqing had used his mental power to destroy the mind control in Lin Yan's body. Before long, Lin Yan's eyes regained their clarity. Wretched demoness! Lin Yan cursed loudly, her consciousness still lingering on the moment when she had been brought into the laboratory. However, when she saw Pei Li and Pei Yuqing beside her, she was startled. When Lin Yan opened her eyes, she instinctively surveyed her surroundings. "Mommy, are you all right?" Pei Qian gazed at Lin Yan, with a worried expression on his face. That damned demoness! Lin Yan gritted her teeth. Was Muyu really her biological sister? How could she be so vicious? Pei Yuqing fell into deep thought when he heard Lin Yan. However, he didn't say anything. "Sister." Pei Li peered at Lin Yan timidly. "Baby, did I hurt you?" When she saw Pei Li, she scrambled to her feet and hugged him. Seeing this, Pei Qian glanced at Pei Li with a sour expression. "Sister, I'm fine," Pei Li said. "It's all my fault." Lin Yan stroked Pei Li's head. Although she had been under the control of the demoness, Muyu, and couldn't remember what had happened, she had an impression that she had attacked Pei Li. Lin Yan's heart was filled with questions. Why would Muyu control her to harm an innocent child? She couldn't explain it at all. "Mommy, it's fine. Brother Xiaoli isn't hurt," Pei Qian assured Lin Yan. Lin Yan sighed, feeling as though she had just survived a calamity. If she had really hurt Pei Li, she would never forgive herself, even if she had been controlled by the demoness. End of this chapter. Chapter 1472. Let's go out and play. Pei Yuqing glanced at Pei Li and Pei Qian. It was obvious that he wanted to speak to Lin Yan alone. However, Pei Yuqing's words seemed to have been automatically filtered out by the two devils. No one even bothered to look at him. Pei Li asked, "Sister, what happened? Are you hurt?" Pei Qian asked, "Mommy, are you all right? Do you feel unwell? Do you need to go to the hospital?" Pei Yuqing was speechless. "I'm fine. As long as you guys are fine." Lin Yan grinned. Pei Yuqing pinched his temples helplessly before he said solemnly, "Get out." Pei Li asked, "Sister, did you meet a bad guy?" Pei Qian asked, "Mommy, who bullied you? Tell me. I will avenge Mommy." Pei Yuqing was speechless. Lin Yan glanced at Pei Qian and Pei Li. "Be good babies. Let's go out and play." Pei Li replied, "Okay." Pei Qian replied, "Yeah, I wanted to go out with Brother Xiaoli." Pei Qian and Pei Li left obediently. Before they left, they glared at the person who had chased them away. After Pei Qian and Pei Li left, Lin Yan glared at Pei Yuqing. "Why were you so fierce to two kids?" Pei Yuqing raised his eyebrows at Lin Yan. He seemed to be the one who had been scolded. Pei Yuqing gazed at Lin Yan and nodded. "Okay, I will be gentler next time." "But," Pei Yuqing paused and held the girl's hand. "But you were fierce to me too." The man's voice was low and hoarse. His eyes behind the glasses were like ice water that melted under the warm sun in winter, making one's heart flutter. Lin Yan was in a daze. Was I fierce? What do you think?" The man narrowed his eyes. Although Lin Yan didn't think that she had been fierce, she couldn't stand his gaze. "Ahem. Then, I will pay attention next time." Pei Yuqing was obviously unhappy with her answer. He bit the girl's finger gently and said, "Call me hubby and I will forgive you." Lin Yan was speechless. Lin Yan was so shocked that her hair stood on end. "Why are you here again?" She remembered that the first time Pei Yuqing had asked her to call him hubby had been when she had been possessed by him during a live broadcast. At the time, Ji Mingzhi had suddenly appeared in the livestream room to send gifts, and fans had been gossiping about her relationship with Ji Mingzhi. Pei Yuqing had been so enraged that he had almost exposed her relationship with Pei Yuqing. Back then, Lin Yan had begged and begged, but Pei Yuqing had asked her to call him hubby in exchange for a promise. Although she had started to address him by his full name, and even addressed him as darling, it was still difficult for her to call him hubby. She had always been a straight man, but it was still difficult for her to call him hubby. Too mushy. Lin Yan shook her head vigorously. No. Too mushy. Change to something else. Pei Yuqing could tell that Lin Yan wasn't used to it, so he didn't force her. Instead his eyes dimmed. "Tell me, What happened? Did you meet someone? Asked Pei Yucheng. Lin Yin was startled for a moment before she snapped back to her senses. It's a long story. I'm afraid you won't believe me. Do you know that demoness? Pei Yucheng fell into deep thought as he studied Lin Yan's mysterious expression. Naturally, Pei Yucheng knew who the demoness Lin Yin was talking about was. After Heaven's Pardon's reappearance, Pei Yucheng had learned more about her. The demoness Lin Yin was referring to should be the eldest daughter of the Mu family Mu Yu. Chapter 1473. Although Pei Yucheng had stayed with the Mu family for a period of time, he hadn't known that the Mu family had a sister who looked exactly like Lin Yin. Some time ago, Mu Yu had pretended to be Lin Yin and ambushed him. Pei Yucheng had thought it was strange, but he hadn't recognized Mu Yu. Pei Yucheng had gotten some information about Mu Yu from Amnesty's intelligence agency, but it wasn't complete. Mu Yu was the eldest daughter of the Mu family, and she was Lin Yan's twin. Unlike Lin Yan, Mu Yu was a postnatal evolved being. However, even so, Mu Yu had displayed a terrifying talent for evolution. When she was only 6 or 7 years old, she had been able to defeat some powerful Khanate evolved beings of the Mu family without suffering any injuries. After that incident, Mu Yu had disappeared. A few years later, an extremely mysterious evolutionary organization had appeared in the world of evolved beings. They had used experimental technology to nurture the first generation of perfect evolved beings, the second generation of perfect evolved beings, and the subsequent generations of perfect evolved beings. Take Sibai as an example. He was the first generation of perfect evolvers for his experimental methods. The leader of this evolutionary organization that mainly used experimental methods was known as the She-Devil to the outside world. No one knew the purpose of this organization's existence, and no one knew why the demoness had nurtured so many generations of perfect evolved beings. Even Pei Yucheng's Amnesty Intelligence Department couldn't find out. However, the Amnesty Intelligence Department had figured out one thing. The leader of this organization was the eldest daughter of the Mu family Mu Yu. Pei Yucheng didn't know what was going on. The demoness and Mu Yu were the same person, who was Lin Yan's sister. Why had she appeared in the Pei family and pretended to be Lin Yan to assassinate him? Why had she used her mental strength and experimental methods to control Lin Yan's mind and make Lin Yan return to kill his family? 7th generation. Just as Pei Yucheng was deep in thought, a gentlemanly young man in a suit and leather shoes had melted into the wall. His body was like water as he seeped out of the wall beside Pei Yucheng and Lin Yan. Lin Yan jumped in fright when she saw this. She was dumbfounded. How could someone pass through the wall? It was the wall passing technique. Lin Yan couldn't help but sigh. Evolved beings were really magical. However, as an evolved being, why couldn't a delicate girl like her be given some magical and special evolutionary powers? What invisibility technique, Midas touch, treasured technique, 10,000 strings technique? She could barely accept all of these. So why did she have to use brute force? She was obviously a good material to be a great magician, but fate made a fool of her and made her become a tank. If it was a tank, then so be it. But it wasn't a tank that could take a beating. Lin Yan snapped out of her daze. What did he mean by 7th generation? Nice to meet you, wife of the 7th generation. Hello, Madam Pardon. The man bowed at Lin Yan politely. Lin Yan was dumbfounded. She had no idea what was going on. Next time, knock on the door. Pei Yucheng glanced at the man expressionlessly. 7th generation, I'm sorry. The boss of the intelligence department has been in this position for a long time. I almost never use the front door. This is a habit. I will definitely change next time. I hope you can forgive me. The man nodded. As the boss of the intelligence department, some highly confidential information couldn't be obtained by knocking on the door. He had to use some tricks. Could it be that he would openly appear in front of a certain evolutionary clan that he needed to steal information from, knock on the door arrogantly and say, "Come, hurry up and give me the information"? Pei Yucheng replied calmly. The person in charge of the intelligence department should be Tao Tian. The young man's expression changed when he heard Pei Yucheng. He hurriedly said, 7th generation, I don't agree with you. So what if he's the second in command? If he were promoted, wouldn't he be the first in command? What's wrong with Taotian? He's older than me, but he's better than me. Besides, he's old, and I'm still young. Even if he doesn't retire, I can make him die. When the time comes, I'll be the first in command. Since I'll be the first in command sooner or later, why can't I use my authority in advance? Pei Yuqing was speechless. Lin Yan was speechless. Although Lin Yan didn't know who this man was, his shamelessness was unparalleled. It was rare to find someone who could spout nonsense so boldly and confidently. End of the chapter. Chapter 1474. The man glanced at Lin Yan. Allow me to introduce myself to the young and beautiful mistress of Pardon Heaven. The man ignored Pei Yuqing and turned to Lin Yan instead. He cleared his throat and said politely, "Hello, mistress of Pardon Heaven. I'm the leader of Pardon Heaven's intelligence department. I'm also the boss. My name is Go Dong. If you don't mind, you can call me Little Go." Oh yeah, I was the one who built Pardon Heaven's intelligence network. It contains information about all the evolved beings in the world, as well as some very rare confidential documents. I hope that mistress can take care of me. As the leader of Pardon Heaven's intelligence network, I can provide you with the greatest convenience. Ha! Lin Yan studied the man before her. Pei Yuqing didn't say anything, so she didn't retort. However, she didn't know what his motive was. She instinctively asked, "What convenience?" "I can help you keep an eye on the 7th generation leader, who is also your partner, Mr. Pei Yuqing. Other than Pardon Heaven's intelligence department, no other intelligence department can do this. Mistress, please believe me. As long as you take care of me, I will definitely inform you immediately if the 7th generation leader flirts with other women in the future," Go Dong said anxiously. Without any hesitation, Lin Yan nodded immediately. "Old Go deal. Mistress, if you don't mind, you can call me Little Go." Pei Yuqing was speechless. Perhaps the second in command of the intelligence department should be replaced by a normal person. If Go Dong's intelligence network hadn't been excellent, he would have made him disappear from Pardon Heaven. 7th generation leader. I'm doing this to protect your relationship with mistress. You won't blame me, right? Go Dong asked. Pei Yuqing stared at Go Dong and replied expressionlessly, "Official business." At the mention of official business, Go Dong's frivolous expression disappeared immediately. He said solemnly, 7th generation leader, I have 2 things to report. Firstly, I've obtained the information you needed. I've already sorted it out. Go Dong handed a stack of documents to Pei Yuqing. The second matter is that someone snuck into the intelligence department in the middle of the night. When he was discovered, he was stealing confidential documents. This person was tortured, but he still couldn't obtain any useful information, so I've already brought him here, Go Dong continued. As soon as Go Dong finished speaking, Xingchen walked in with a man who was on the verge of death. I'm innocent. I'm just an ordinary thief. I really don't have any bad intentions. The man cried as soon as he entered the door. Lin Yan studied the man in astonishment. He was a thief who had no ill intentions. Lin Yan's eyes trailed to the man as she frowned. He looked rather familiar, as though she had seen him somewhere before. The man, who seemed to sense Lin Yan's gaze, instinctively sized her up. Lin Yan's eyes met the man's. After a few seconds, both of them froze. Big sister. The man stared at Lin Yan excitedly. Your name is Wu. Lin Yan fell into deep thought. He looked familiar. Wu Yu, I'm Wu Yu big sis. Have you forgotten me? We're sisters who have gone through thick and thin together. No, we're brother and sister, Wu Yu hurriedly said. Wu Yu gritted his teeth when he saw that Lin Yan was still puzzled. Sister Yan, have you forgotten? Back in the prison, we treated each other with sincerity and risked our lives for each other? I'm the legendary thief Wu Yu. Wu Yu prison. Lin Yan fell into deep thought. End of this chapter. Chapter 1475. Sister Yan, we can't be like this. Have you forgotten that I was the one who brought you out of prison? When I came out, I was penniless. I even borrowed 2,000 yuan from you to buy a phone. Wu Yu whimpered miserably. Lin Yan straightened her back and gazed at Wu Yu with sparkling eyes. Wu Yu, I remember now. You owe me 20,000 yuan. Huh. Wu Yu didn't react in time. Wasn't it 2,000 yuan? You said it yourself. I'll pay you back tenfold, replied Lin Yin. Wu Yu was speechless, Go Dong was speechless, Xing Chen was speechless, Pei Yuqing was speechless. Did I say that? No, that's not important. Sister Yin, are you familiar with them? Save me and help me explain. Wu Yu whimpered. Mistress, are you his friend? Go Dong glanced at Lin Yin in surprise. Lin Yin shook her head. I'm not his friend. I'm his creditor. Mistress, this person snuck into the intelligence department and was discovered stealing some confidential documents, explained Go Dong. Mistress? Wu Yu stared at Lin Yin in shock. Sister, you're the mistress of Amnesty, the wife of the 7th generation leader? As soon as he said that, everyone's eyes fell on Wu Yu. Although Lin Yin didn't know what Amnesty was, she wasn't stupid. She had heard about it from Pei Yuqing and the others. Amnesty was an evolved organization, and Pei Yuqing was the 7th generation leader of the organization. The intelligence department was half the heart of the organization. Wu Yu had said that he was a thief, so how had he known that he was from Amnesty's intelligence department? He had obviously come prepared. Lin Yin glanced at Wu Yu. Wu Yu, confess and I'll be lenient. I can only help you if you tell me the truth. Sister, I'm really innocent, Wu Yu said anxiously. However, Wu Yu could only sigh when he saw Lin Yan's incredulous expression. Sister, I can't say. If I say it, I might die. Lin Yan was speechless. It was as though he wouldn't die if he didn't say anything. All the more reason for you to say it. Lin Yan frowned. If you don't say it, they will definitely beat you to death. Lin Yan pointed at Xing Chen. This kid only eats adults. Xing Chen, the adult eater. He is even scarier. He is a homicidal maniac. Lin Yan pointed at Pei Yuqing. Pei Yuqing was speechless. This. Lin Yan glanced at Go Dong. Go Dong's face was filled with anticipation. Wu Yu, hurry up and tell me. I can only help you if you tell me. If you don't, I can't help you, replied Lin Yan. The expectant Go Dong. Sister Yin, you're my biological sister. I really can't tell you. I was ordered by someone. On account of our friendship, please ask them to let me go. Wu Yu gazed at Lin Yan. Lin Yan sighed helplessly. I'm not in charge. I can't make decisions. Sister, he said that you're the mistress of Tianjia. Don't lie to me. You must be the mistress. I was ordered by someone. Besides, I didn't know that you were from Tianjia. If I had known, I would never have betrayed you, no matter how much money you offered me. Wu Yu exclaimed agitatedly. Sister Yin, you're the mistress of Tianjia. Mistress, don't talk nonsense with him. This person doesn't know what's good for him, and doesn't know how to appreciate kindness. Just feed him to the dogs. Go Dong said coldly. Lin Yin turned to Xing Chen. Xing Chen, who likes to eat adults. Good night, the update is over. Smooches, end of chapter. Chapter 1476. Sister, you can't do this to me. I would rather be fed to a dog than be eaten by him. Wu Yu looked aggrieved. Then feed me to a dog. Lin Yin sighed heavily. Huh? Wu Yu was terrified. Sister, I was the one who saved you. Lin Yin, who was startled, glanced at Wu Yu in confusion. I should be the one who saved you. Without me, would you have been able to get out of the prison? Sister, without me, you wouldn't have been able to get out, replied Wu Yu. Lin Yin nodded. That's right. We are working together. You didn't save me. Wu Yu, you don't have to say this. As long as you tell me who the mastermind is, I will definitely help you. However, if you refuse to tell me, I won't be able to help you. Are you going to tell me or not? My patience is limited. Go Dong's face darkened. All right, I'll tell you. However, I'm not saying it because I'm afraid of you. It's because of my relationship with you. Wu Yu glanced at Lin Yan. Sister, it's Master Qin. Master Qin. Lin Yan and the others were startled by Wu Yu's words. Who was this Master Qin that Wu Yu was talking about? Is Master Qin's surname Qin? Lin Yan asked curiously. Wu Yu shook his head. No, Master Qin is what I call him. His surname is Qin, but he doesn't call me master. Xing Chen, eat him. Lin Yan waved at Xing Chen. Xing Chen replied. He looks greasy. Master Qin is Qin Huan. Wu Yu replied. Qin Huan? Everyone was stunned. Only Pei Yuqing seemed to be deep in thought. Qin Huan? How is that possible? Xing Chun looked astonished and incredulous. Xing Chun and Qin Huan were close friends. They had been by Pei Yuqing's side for many years, and were like brothers. Xing Chun couldn't accept the fact that Qin Huan had betrayed him. After such a long time, there had been no news of Qin Huan. He had never imagined that Qin Huan would have instructed this guy to infiltrate Amnesty's intelligence department to steal information. What was Qin Huan's motive? Who was behind him? However, Xing Chun also had some doubts in his heart. Was the Qin Huan that Wu Yu mentioned the same Qin Huan that he knew? Could it be someone with the same name? I have an idea, Lin Yan suddenly said. Wu Yu, contact Qin Huan and tell him that you have obtained the information. Arrange a time for you to meet. Go Dong, who was startled by Lin Yan's words, hurriedly gave her a thumbs up. Mistress, you're really beautiful and wise. How could you think of such a good idea? With your wisdom, we will definitely be able to recover to our peak. Lin Yan was speechless. Go Dong said. The position of the head of the intelligence department will depend on you, mistress. Lin Yan was speechless. Wu Yu had no choice but to contact Qin Huan. However, Qin Huan seemed to be very cautious. He only asked Wu Yu to transmit the information he had obtained to him via the internet. Naturally, Wu Yu could not provide any useful information, so he could only stall for time. Half an hour later, Xing Chun and Ling Yu arrived. Ling Yu was holding a laptop. When she saw Pei Yuqing, she said, "The target's location has been confirmed." Pei Yuqing instructed Xing Chun, Go Dong, and the others to find Wu Yu and bring him back. Lin Yan had wanted to follow them, but Pei Yuqing stopped her. He told her to rest at home and not to leave. End of this chapter. Chapter 1477. After Go Dong and the others left, Pei Yuqing fell into deep thought as he studied the report Go Dong had given him. He studied Lin Yan from time to time. What's wrong? Lin Yan was puzzled when she saw that something was amiss with Pei Yuqing's expression. You said that the girl called Mu Yu is your sister, Pei Yuqing said to Lin Yan. Lin Yan nodded. I think so. Pei Yuqing remained silent after hearing Lin Yan's answer. The document that Go Dong had given him recorded Lin Yan's true identity and background. Pei Yuqing didn't doubt Go Dong's ability to gather intelligence. The authenticity of this document was extremely high. Pei Yuqing naturally understood Lin Yan very well. Not only did he know her now, but he also knew her past. Lin Yan's original name was Mu Yan, and she was the pride of the Mu family. Due to certain circumstances, her life had changed drastically. After leaving the Mu family, Lin Yan had made some like-minded friends and established the Mountain Sea clan. This should have been an exciting life, but due to certain reasons, the Mountain Sea clan had been destroyed. Lin Yan, who couldn't accept reality, had activated her evolved ability to help her erase all her negative memories. After losing her memories, Lin Yan had been brought to the country by Wang Jingyang and become He Muyun's child. Pei Yuqing had investigated He Muyun's matter. He Muyun was a Chinese person and an evolved being. After becoming an evolved being, He Muyun had left the country and coincidentally become a guard of the Mu family. She had been taking care of Mu Yan. Back then, He Muyun and Lin Yuetong had been a couple. Due to certain reasons, He Muyun had broken up with Lin Yuetong. After He Muyun had become an evolved being, she had left the country and become a guard of the Mu family. A few years later, He Muyun had left the Mu family and returned to the country. She had lost her ability to evolve. The Mountain Sea Heavenly Hound had brought Lin Yan, who had lost her memories, to the country. She had found He Muyun and acknowledged Mu Yan as her daughter. She had asked He Muyun to think of a way to give Mu Yan a new identity. After that, He Muyun had found Lin Yuetong again and told him that she had been pregnant with his daughter when they had separated. She had named her Lin Yan. Now that his daughter was old enough to go to school, he hoped that Lin Yuetong could give them an identity and fulfill his duty as a father. Lin Yuetong knew He Muyun's character very well, so he had never doubted her. He had never thought that she would lie from the start. To Lin Yuetong, it was a wedding because he had a son. Not long after their marriage, they had their second child, Lin Shuya. Hence, Lin Yan had nothing to do with the Lin family. Pei Yuqing had known all of this from the beginning. However, The latest news that Go Dong had brought him today had overturned his understanding of the world. Lin Yin wasn't a member of the Lin family. She wasn't even the daughter of the Mu family. Moreover, Mu Yin did not believe that her surname was Mu. Her surname was Shang. The Shang family was a surname of an ancient evolver that had existed for countless eras. Since ancient times, they had always stood at the top of the evolver clans. They belonged to the top-tier evolver super clans. The current head of the family was Shang Yuan. It was said that Shang Yuan was a postnatal evolved being. His ability to evolve wasn't worth mentioning, but he had mastered terrifying experimental manufacturing techniques. Strictly speaking, Shang Yuan controlled the lifeline of the evolved being world. End of this chapter. Chapter 1478. Given Shang Yuan's experimental skills, he could create countless perfect evolved beings. For example, Mu Yu, the demoness that Lin Yin had mentioned, had similar experimental skills. However, her standards couldn't be compared to Shang Yuan's. Besides, Shang Yuan had many adopted children. Most of them had been adopted by Shang Yuan since they were young. For example, the eldest Shang Yu, the fourth Shang Hui, and the fifth Shang Beiyue were all top-notch evolved beings in the world of evolved beings. They possessed extremely powerful evolved beings. Pei Yuqing's face was expressionless, but his heart was in turmoil. After pondering for a moment, he had roughly pieced all the information together. Lin Yin was Shang Yuan's child. After Lin Yin was born, perhaps because he wanted his daughter to become the king of evolved beings, Shang Yuan had used experimental methods on Lin Yin. This had allowed Lin Yin, who had been a child, to possess evolutionary power that was beyond ordinary people's understanding. For example, evolved beings who had suffered serious injuries due to evolution would show signs of recovery as soon as they got close to Lin Yin. In other words, as long as they obtained Lin Yin, they would be able to break through their bottleneck and evolve endlessly. In the end, they would become a true god with absolute power. It was also because of Lin Yan's ability that some elders of the Shang clan had used all sorts of methods to make Lin Yin their own. Not long after, it was also because of this that the Shang clan split, and Shang Yuan and his adopted children used extremely ruthless methods to suppress the situation. Although they had stabilized the situation, Shang Yuan had realized that an innocent man would get into trouble because of his wealth. For the sake of his daughter's safety, Shang Yuan had eventually sent Lin Yin to the Mu family and made the matriarch of the Mu family acknowledge Lin Yin as her daughter. At that time, the Mu family had belonged to the Shang clan, so they naturally wouldn't disobey. Two people. Pei Yuqing looked at the confidential information in his hands, deep in thought. Back then, Shang Yuan hadn't given Lin Yin to the Mu family alone. He had given two young girls. One of them was Lin Yin, and the other was the demoness Mu Yu. The two of them looked exactly the same. There was not the slightest difference. Go Dong's information only reached this point. Even Pei Yuqing didn't know the origin of the demoness Mu Yu. If the two of them weren't twins, why did they look exactly the same? Pei Yuqing instinctively sized Lin Yin up. Lin Yin was holding a notebook in her hands. Just like Pei Yuqing, she was studying it carefully. "What are you looking at?" Pei Yuqing asked. Lin Yin fell silent for a few seconds before she said, "The first line of this notebook is that I've regained my memory, but I'm about to lose it again. Therefore, I've written down some useful information. I hope that I can obtain some useful information after I lose my memory." Pei Yuqing frowned when he heard Lin Yin. "This handwriting is indeed mine," Lin Yin muttered to herself. Pei Yuqing was speechless. "Just now I felt like I had forgotten something. I seemed to remember that I had written a note. It felt like a dream, but I didn't expect it to be real." Pei Yuqing was speechless. She closed the notebook and stared at him. "So, yeah." Pei Yuqing had no choice but to admit it. "Whose prank is this?" Lin Yin looked puzzled. Pei Yuqing, who was startled, walked over to Lin Yin. "Can I take a look?" "Sure." Lin Yin passed the notebook to him. Pei Yuqing flipped open the notebook and studied it for a long time. "It's all true. It's all true. Everything written here is true. You weren't dreaming. And this has nothing to do with a prank," replied Pei Yuqing. Lin Yin shuddered when she heard Pei Yuqing. This was unbelievable. Yet it was all true. I'm really not He Muyun's biological daughter. I'm the young mistress of the Mu family, the leader of Mountain Sea. End of this chapter. Chapter 1479. Somewhere in the manor. Wang Jingyang studied the man before him thoughtfully. I've always believed that Pei Yuqing had something to do with the destruction of the Mountain Sea realm. The man fell silent. Azure Dragon, I really don't understand why you stayed in the Hunters Guild's prison for so many years. Given your abilities, you shouldn't have been caught. After a while, the man called Azure Dragon seemed to have recovered from his memories and looked at Wang Jingyang. Wang Jingyang was right. Given his abilities, he naturally wouldn't have been caught by the Hunters Guild. The reason he had stayed there all these years was to atone for his sins. I got it. Suddenly, Wang Jingyang seemed to recall something as he grinned at Azure Dragon. The current genius president of the Hunters Guild is, to a certain extent, Lin Nua's younger brother. Did you not retaliate because you were captured by Lin Nua? Azure Dragon stared at Wang Jingyang for a long time before he said, go call your subordinate Qin Huan back. As Qing Long's words faded, Wang Jingyang was slightly stunned. He asked in a puzzled manner, what do you mean? He had asked Qin Huan to find a way to obtain some confidential information from Amnesty's information department. This information was divided into two parts. The first part was to understand some special information about the Holy Land, and the second part was to find out the truth about the destruction of the Mountain Sea realm. He wanted to know if Pei Yuqing had betrayed Amnesty. Although Wang Jingyang knew that Pei Yuqing had become the 7th generation of Amnesty, the information from back then might have been preserved. After a long time, Azure Dragon seemed to have made up his mind. He stared at Wang Jingyang and said solemnly, go, you know that the Hunters Guild's prison can't trap me. After so many years, I haven't come out. Instead, I came out this time. Do you want to know why? Wang Jingyang was startled. This was indeed what Wang Jingyang had been wondering about. In fact, Wang Jingyang had once believed that Azure Dragon had died on the battlefield. Why? Wang Jingyang asked curiously. Just like I said before, I entered the prison for my sins. This time, I came out hoping to atone for them. Azure Dragon said expressionlessly. Can't you speak like a human being? Wang Jingyang was confused. Wang Jingyang had no idea what the Azure Dragon was saying, or what he was trying to express. Pei Yuqing is innocent. Pei Yuqing didn't leak our whereabouts. Someone else did. Although Pei Yuqing is the biggest suspect, unfortunately, Azure Dragon said. Wang Jingyang stared at Azure Dragon for a long time before he said, why are you so sure? Since you're so sure that Pei Yuqing is innocent, who leaked the whereabouts of Mountain Sea back then, including the information that Jiu Feng is Mu Yan of the Mu family. Only the members of the Mountain Sea sect and Pei Yuqing knew Jiu Feng's true identity. If it hadn't been Pei Yuqing, it could only have been someone from the Mountain Sea sect who had leaked it. However, everyone had died except for him and Jiu Feng. At this point, Wang Jingyang could not help but size up the Azure Dragon. No, apart from him and Jiu Feng, there was also this man. It's me. The green dragon retracted his gaze and looked at Wang Jingyang. Wang Jingyang, who had some guesses, couldn't help but tremble when he heard Azure Dragon. He knew that he hadn't heard wrongly. Azure Dragon had said that he had done it, but Wang Jingyang still couldn't believe it. He couldn't even accept it. Good night. The update is over. End of this chapter. Chapter 1480. This was even more shocking than when he had found out that Pei Yuqing had betrayed them. It was even more unbelievable. I did it. Azure Dragon's eyes were filled with a complicated expression. Azure Dragon originally wanted to say something, but Wang Jingyang, who was beside him, threw a punch at Azure Dragon without any warning. However, Azure Dragon dodged Wang Jingyang's attack instantly. Let me tell you a story, Azure Dragon told Wang Jingyang. *T. Wang Jingyang, who was in a state of rage, immediately rushed towards Azure Dragon. However, no matter what Wang Jingyang did, Azure Dragon didn't fight back. He only dodged and began his story. Many years ago, powerful evolved beings were able to cover the sky with one hand, inciting wars between evolved beings non-stop. Even some ordinary people were implicated. There was an ordinary couple who suffered an unexpected calamity and died in the hands of evolved beings. Shut up. Wang Jingyang glared at Azure Dragon. He wasn't interested in listening to this nonsense. However, the Azure Dragon ignored him and continued. The husband and wife left behind a pair of children. Just as the two daughters were about to be killed, the Holy Master of the Holy Land descended from the sky like a god and punished those powerful evolvers who disturbed the balance of the ordinary world. The young man, who was the younger brother, saw the godlike holy leader of the sacred land, but he cried at the sight of his parents' corpses. He blamed himself for not protecting these ordinary people, and not appearing in time to punish the chaos caused by the powerful evolved beings. What are you trying to say? Wang Jingyang asked. Go. Can you imagine that the holy leader, a man who is close to the god of evolved beings, a man who has the title of the most powerful evolved being, and an invincible evolved being, would actually cry for ordinary people? Wang Jingyang stopped attacking and didn't speak. He had already guessed that the pair of children that Azure Dragon was talking about was Azure Dragon and his sister. The young man remembers that the Holy Landlord personally buried his parents and knelt in front of their graves to apologize. He pushed all the blame and the evil consequences onto himself. It was because he did not fulfill his duty as a guardian that allowed ordinary people to be killed by evolved humans. Even the conflicts between evolved humans had always been caused by friction between them. As the Holy Landlord, he wanted to balance everything out and even end everything. Later on, the young man and his older sister were both brought into the Holy Land by the Holy Land's Lord to train and raise them. As for that young man, that was me. Wang Jingyang stared at Azure Dragon and sneered. So in the end, you're from the Holy Land? Azure Dragon did not answer. He continued. Actually, do you know that there is no evil person in the Holy Land, especially the leader of the Holy Land? He has the purest truth and kindness in this world. Everything he does is for the sake of the balance between the evolved beings. Only when there is true balance will there be true peace. You see him as an evil person only because your standpoints and perspectives are different. You see the problem differently, that's all. So that dog of a Holy Land's leader sent you to the mountains and seas as a spy? Wang Jingyang asked coldly. However, Azure Dragon shook his head. It's not what you think. The Azure Dragon stared at Wang Jingyang and continued. I really hate some powerful evolved humans who use their powerful evolutionary powers to stir up wars between the evolved human clans. They even treat ordinary people like ants that can be crushed at any time. Wang Jingyang thought. And my mission in the Holy Land has always been to kill these evil evolved beings. Entering the mountains and seas was just a coincidence. End of this chapter. Chapter 1481. Back then, Azure Dragon went out to carry out a mission, but he did not expect the enemy to be so strong that he was seriously injured. The Azure Dragon risked his life to escape, and was lucky enough to keep his life. However, he was severely injured and fainted somewhere. By the time Azure Dragon woke up, he had already been rescued by the young Nine Phoenix. At first glance, Azure Dragon recognized Jiufeng. This girl would seriously affect the balance between evolvers in the future, so she had to be eliminated. However, at that time, the Mountain Sea had already begun to take shape. Nine Phoenix had several powerful evolvers by his side, including the Mountain Sea Heavenly Hound. Moreover, he was heavily injured and unable to move at all. Therefore, the Azure Dragon concealed his identity and deceived the trust of Jiufeng and the other members. He even successfully joined the Mountain Sea and obtained the title of Mountain Sea Azure Dragon. You really are a beast. Wang Jingyang stared coldly at Azure Dragon. Every single member of Shanghai is our closest ally, our partner, our brother, our sister. That means you've killed them all. Is this your so-called justice? Is this the balance you speak of? Is this the supreme ideal in your heart? Following Wang Jingyang's words, Azure Dragon's body trembled slightly. I'm sorry. I didn't expect it to be like this. If they didn't obstruct the Holy Land, if they didn't block or attack us, they wouldn't. Bullshit. Wang Jingyang roared angrily and punched Azure Dragon's face. Azure Dragon was punched and fell to the ground. In the next second, Wang Jingyang rode on Azure Dragon's back, and his fists rained down on Azure Dragon's face. They treat Jiufeng as their own little sister, as family. Every single member of the Mountain Sea tribe is a family worth protecting. How could they let the people from the Holy Land take away their closest family member? Ah, do you still remember how Fatty died? He died trying to protect you, you bastard? Do you still remember what Fatty said to you in the last second before he died? Azure Dragon's pupils suddenly shrank. The Fatty that Wang Jingyang was referring to was the Taotai of Shanghai. He was also a very powerful evolver. Taotai thought that the people of the Holy Land would attack him, so he stopped those people until he died. However, Wang Jingyang's words allowed Azure Dragon to see the memories that he had been avoiding and did not dare to face. Taoyu's last words before he died was to let him run. Suddenly, the Azure Dragon kicked Wang Jingyang up. Even if you want to beat me to death, now is not the time. I came out this time not to let you beat me, but to atone for my sins. And the prerequisite for atoning for my sins is that I must live. The Azure Dragon wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Back then, the Azure Dragon had hesitated and struggled. Be it Nine Phoenix or Mountain Sea, they were his benefactors. If he reported their whereabouts and abilities, wouldn't he be ungrateful? But then he thought of his parents. The nine-headed phoenix's ability was too dangerous. If she wasn't eradicated, it was highly possible that the world of evolvers would be reshuffled because of this girl. This risk couldn't be taken. However, the Azure Dragon had never had a good opportunity to bring this information back to the Holy Land. The longer he spent in the mountains and seas, the more he interacted with them, the more he came to view each and every member of the mountains and seas as his closest family. In fact, he had never felt such a bond between them before, even with his own sister. But in the end, he still betrayed them and caused their deaths. End of chapter. Chapter 1482. Was he wrong? He was only doing it for balance, for peace, to prevent more ordinary people from dying at the hands of powerful evolved beings. If the world of evolved beings lost its balance, what would become of the world? He thought that he had finally fulfilled his duty of brotherhood, but when he saw the members of the Mountain Sea realm die one by one in front of him, his heart was in extreme pain. It was even more painful than when he saw his parents killed. This time, it was his own hands that killed his family members who were still worried about him before they died. After that, Azure Dragon left the Holy Land and even entered the prison. Everything was as he said. Entering the prison was his sin. He thought that he would spend the rest of his life in the prison until Jiufeng entered. Jiufeng did not die. He was left with two choices. First, he could fulfill his duty of righteousness and kill Jiufeng, or inform the Holy Land. Second, he could redeem himself and use his bloodstained hands to protect his last family members. And this time, leaving the prison grounds was redemption. First, it was redemption for himself. Second, it was redemption for the world. Your choices. Wang Jingyang stared at Azure Dragon. This time, Azure Dragon opened his eyes. I want to protect my family and redeem myself. How can I trust you? Wang Jingyang asked. Azure Dragon shook his head. I have already received news from the Holy Land. This time, the Holy Land leader and the two protectors are personally coming. Why would I lie to you? The leaked video has already spread all over the Evolved Beings network. How can it be hidden from the Holy Land? Wang Jingyang did not question him this time. Indeed, Azure Dragon had no reason to lie to him. The appearance of the two protectors and the Holy Land leader was enough to show the importance the Holy Land attached to this matter. They were invincible, godlike enemies. You can go. I have my own plans, Wang Jingyang said. Don't even think about leaving with Jiufeng, Azure Dragon said. What do you mean? Wang Jingyang frowned at Azure Dragon. You underestimate the Holy Land's ability, Azure Dragon said. As soon as you leak your location, the Holy Land has already moved to secretly monitor Jiufeng's whereabouts. No matter where you escape, you won't be able to escape, because this time, the two protectors and the Holy Land leader are personally coming. Upon hearing that, Wang Jingyang sneered and said, You only monitored Jiufeng and not me? Is there a need to monitor you? Can you affect the balance of the evolved world? The Holy Land only has one goal, and that is Jiufeng. No matter what you say, you're still a member of the Holy Land. You also caused the deaths of our brothers and sisters in the mountains and seas. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. Wang Jingyang turned around and left. Wait. Azure Dragon said, you don't have to be surprised by Xiao Ji's behavior. He is the smartest person in our mountain and sea realm. The reason why he deliberately publicized the abilities of the 9 phoenixes is so that a large number of powerful evolvers will fight for the 9 phoenixes. He is trying to create obstacles for the Holy Land. His original intention is still there. TSK, the same kind of trash. Wang Jingyang sneered and disappeared. Cloud Manor. Lin Yan and the others stared at Qin Huan, who had been captured and was sitting quietly in a corner. You're dead. Suddenly, Qin Huan looked at Wu Yu. Pfft. Wu Yu glanced at Qin Huan. I think you should die first. You despicable person. You forced me to steal confidential documents. You're immoral. Not only did you not repent after being exposed, but you even threatened me. End of this chapter. Chapter 1483. Qin Huan sneered coldly. Did I force you? Didn't I give you money? What happened to the face you used to bargain with me? You have no professional ethics at all. How dare you talk about morality? Sister Yan, I was really forced. I didn't take any money. Wu Yu glanced at Lin Yan. Lin Yan grinned at Wu Yu. Remember to transfer the money to me after you receive the money. Also, don't forget the money you owe me. If you don't pay me back, I will break your legs. Wu Yu was speechless. Brother Pei. Xing Chun. I'm sorry, but you don't have to ask me anymore. I don't know anything and I won't say anything. I don't know anything. Just kill me, said Qin Huan. Qin Huan, have you forgotten how Brother Pei treated us? How dare you betray him time and time again? Are you even human? Xing Chun bellowed. That's why. I've let Brother Pei down. I've already pledged my loyalty to him. Forget it. We have our own masters. There's nothing to say, replied Qin Huan. So everything about you is fake. You being by Brother Pei's side is a complete conspiracy, Xing Chun said. Yes, Qin Huan gritted his teeth. It's the Heavenly Hound, right? Pei Yuqing asked after some time. Xing Chun and the others looked puzzled. Qin Huan was the only one who looked surprised. Brother Pei, how? How did you know? No one should have known about this. That might not be all I know, Pei Yuqing replied. The Mountain Sea Heavenly Hound Mu Yang. They were his childhood friends, so their friendship went without saying. Back then, Pei Yuqing had been a guest at the Mu family and learned from the Mu family's madam for a period of time. In a sense, the Mu family's madam was his mentor. During his time with the Mu family, Pei Yuqing had befriended Mu Yang and Mu Yen. He had a deep relationship with Mu Yang. If it hadn't been for the incident in Mountain Sea, perhaps, however, Pei Yuqing had to suffer in silence. He couldn't voice out his bitterness. Only he and the people of the mountain and sea realm knew that Jiufeng was still alive and had become the 9 phoenixes of the mountain and sea realm. Although Xiao Ji's younger brother, Xiao Yao, and the others also learned the truth later, they were not suspected because of the time difference. In that battle, almost everyone in the mountain sea realm died in battle. Heavenly Hound escaped with 9 phoenix, and Xiao Ji was seriously injured and almost died. Coincidentally, a few days before the incident, he had run into 9 phoenix, and the others from the mountains and seas. Something had happened a few days after he had left, so the suspicion naturally fell on him. Pei Yuqing wasn't a talkative person. He had tried to explain the truth to the Heavenly Hound, but things had turned out contrary to his wishes. He was indeed too suspicious. Heavenly Hound? Lin Yan was puzzled. Wang Jingyang, Pei Yuqing replied. Wang Jingyang. Lin Yan was taken aback for a moment before she instinctively grinned. Is the Wang Jingyang you're talking about the Wang Jingyang I know? Okay, Pei Yuqing replied. He had recognized Wang Jingyang the first time he had seen him, but he hadn't exposed him. Once he did, there would definitely be a battle between him and Wang Jingyang. Wang Jingyang would also leave with Lin Yan again. Hence, he could only pretend that he hadn't recognized Wang Jingyang. As it turned out, his method was indeed correct. At that moment, Pei Yuqing also knew why Wang Jingyang had arranged for Qin Huan to be by his side. Chapter 1484. Even though Wang Jingyang believed that he was the one who had leaked Shanhai's whereabouts and betrayed Shanhai, him, and even Jiufeng, deep in his heart, Wang Jingyang still held a sliver of hope. He did not believe that he was the traitor. Therefore, he had arranged for Qin Huan to approach him and have Qin Huan investigate whether he was the one who did it. Otherwise, there was no need for Wang Jingyang to spend so much effort to send someone to get close to him. All he needed to do was to confirm that it was him and seek revenge on him. Perhaps, even Wang Jingyang himself did not realize this. Hold on. I'm a little confused. Give me some time to think. Lin Yan frowned. Her best friend, who had grown up with her, was Qin Huan's master. He had sent Qin Huan to Pei Yuqing's side. She didn't mention Wang Jingyang in the note she wrote when she recovered her memory. Her mind was a little confused. Brother Pei, can you show Miss Lin Yan now? Asked Xingchen. Let's see. Pei Yuqing nodded. At this juncture, it would be best if Lin Yan could remember everything. Otherwise, Xingchen took out a custom-made phone and passed it to Lin Yan. As she watched the video, Lin Yan recalled that she had asked Wang Jingyang to disguise himself as a man in black and shoot a short story. At first, it was the same as she remembered. However, after Bai suddenly appeared, everything was beyond her understanding. You must be lying. Lin Yan was stunned when she saw the terrifying power that Wang Jingyang had displayed. Wang Jingyang was not the only one. While he was unconscious, he had also displayed an indescribable power of evolution. So, she really was the creator of the mountains and seas, Nine Phoenix, and Wang Jingyang's true identity was the mountains and seas heavenly dog. Wang Jingyang isn't just a heavenly hound. Pei Yuqing glanced at Lin Yan. He is also your brother Mu Yang. Ah! Lin Yan couldn't accept Wang Jingyang's power and identity. Now that he had a brother, Wang Jingyang was adopted by Madame Mu. Although the two of you aren't related by blood, you are no different from siblings, Pei Yuqing quipped. Lin Yan was speechless. Her mind was even messier. She probably needed walnuts to nourish her brain. Miss Lin Yan, don't blame him. Qin Huan glanced at Lin Yan suddenly. Everything he did was for you, so that you could live. Can you tell me everything? Lin Yan glanced at Qin Huan, and then glanced at Pei Yuqing. Pei Yuqing pondered for a moment before he instructed Xing Chun to lead everyone away. Only he and Lin Yan were left in the room. Okay. After everyone left, Pei Yuqing nodded and said, I thought that time would allow you to slowly recall everything. However, it seems like I have to tell you now. The story is long. You were originally the daughter of the Shang clan. Family is Mu. Family. You. Family. Of Mu. You. Lin Yu. Mu of. Yang of you. Hu. You. Hu of. You of. Yen of. Hu Jingoff. Lin Yan was speechless. Who could get her a ton of walnuts to nourish her brain? Of. You of Yen was. Chapter 1485. After you were born, Shang Yuan used some experimental techniques on you, hoping that you would become the most powerful evolved being. However, there was another kind of evolution in your body. The effect of this power is very terrifying. You can allow any evolved being with talent to evolve indefinitely. Unlimited? Lin Yan was shocked. Even though she didn't know much about the evolution system, she could sense how terrifying this power was. It was just like playing a game. She could activate a bug and increase her level indefinitely. That would be terrible. Did she have this ability? No wonder those evolved beings had addressed him as senior and asked her to help them. The evolution of an evolved being is like a double-edged sword. The higher the level of evolution, the stronger the ability, and the more side effects. Take Xiao Ji for example. His evolution level is too deep, and his body can't handle it. His legs are crippled, so he can only rely on a wheelchair, said Pei Yuqing. Xiaoji is also an evolved being. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. Yeah, he used to be a member of the Mountain Sea realm. He was the think tank of the Mountain Sea realm. Pei Yuqing nodded. Lin Yan was speechless. Therefore, as long as you're willing, you can eliminate the defects in Xiaoji's body. He can continue to evolve until he becomes a true god of evolved beings. However, because of your ability, the Shang family has split up and a battle has started. For the sake of your safety, your father sent you to the Mu family and made you the young lady of the Mu family. Everything started from here. I met you and Mu Yang in the Mu family. After that, in order to learn better, we passed the entrance test of the Holy Land and entered the Holy Land to study. Because of our good performance, we were accepted as disciples by the leader of the Holy Land. However, good times didn't last long. Master discovered your ability and came to the conclusion that this ability would affect the balance of the evolved being world. Why? Lin Yan frowned. Because the strongest evolved being is Master. He is undoubtedly the god of evolved beings. No evolved being can fight against him. Master's life creed is to maintain peace among evolved beings and protect the world of ordinary people. He doesn't want any evolved being to affect the ordinary world, said Pei Yuqing. And your ability is very special, just like the creator of gods. If one day, some people evolve limitlessly because of your ability, and their abilities become equal to Master, or even surpass Master, surpass the Holy Land, what would happen then? Lin Yan was speechless. If those people are righteous, the world will naturally be at peace. However, if they are ambitious, the sacred ground will be powerless to stop them. In fact, no one can stop them. When that happens, the world of evolved beings and ordinary people will be destroyed, Pei Yuqing said. This, Lin Yan frowned thoughtfully. I think the leader of the sacred land doesn't want anyone to surpass him. Pei Yuqing shook his head and replied, that's possible, but a master would weep because he didn't protect an ordinary person. He would also kneel in front of a grave for days, because his disciple died on a mission. He doesn't seem like a master. Given the power of the sacred ground leader, no one in this world could stop him from doing whatever he wanted. However, he had trapped himself in the sacred ground. Unless there was something urgent, he would never step out of the sacred ground. This was the most powerful and purest person Pei Yuqing had ever seen. Chapter 1486. What happened after he discovered my power? Lin Yan pressed on. He killed you, replied Pei Yuqing. Ah. Lin Yan was confused. Back then, you were knocked off the cliff by Master. You were supposed to die. But I don't know if it was your ability or a coincidence, but you didn't die. Instead, you were saved by Wang Jingyang. After that, Wang Jingyang took you away from the sacred land. He didn't dare return to the Mu family, afraid that Master would find out. Thus, he changed his appearance and wandered around to establish Mountain Sea. But why don't I have any memories? Lin Yan mumbled to herself. It should be a side effect of your ability, Pei Yuqing explained. Your ability is very special. Any memories that hurt you and make you feel pain will be deleted. It might even form fake memories to repair them. Pei Yuqing said hesitantly. Even so, why did the leader of the sacred land do that? If I was his disciple, he could have guided me even if he knew that I had this power. There was no need to kill me, replied Lin Yan. Everyone has different thoughts. Even if you can recognize this, what if a powerful evolved being takes you away one day? The human heart is unpredictable. To him, you're the most unstable factor. Only by making this power disappear would he be able to achieve the greatest balance, said Pei Yuqing. So, I deserve to die. Lin Yan was amused and annoyed at the same time. She had been shot even though she was lying down. Pei Yuqing shook his head. That's why I said that everyone has different opinions and stands on different sides. Master's biggest mistake was to think that he was a real god. No one can decide a person's fate. He can't even take away a person's life when he's innocent. He wants to control everything. Pei Yuqing's gaze was firm. Even God can't. The sacred land found out about the betrayal of Mountain Sea. After learning that you weren't dead, The sacred land sent a guardian to capture everyone in Mountain Sea. Other than you, Wang Jingyang, and Xiao Ji, almost everyone died in battle. They died because they wanted you to live. To them, you were the most important family, said Pei Yuqing. For some reason, when he mentioned Mountain Sea, Lin Yan felt a sense of sorrow that couldn't dissipate. This sorrow seemed to come from the depths of her heart. Who betrayed us? Lin Yan asked coldly. Pei Yuqing was speechless. Wang Jingyang thinks that it's me. Pei Yuqing sounded helpless. There must be a misunderstanding, replied Lin Yan without hesitation. She trusted the man in front of her. Pei Yuqing's eyes quivered when he saw the trust in Lin Yan's eyes. I've been investigating this matter, but I haven't found anything. However, I'm sure that it has nothing to do with me. When he had found out that the leader of the sacred ground had killed Lin Yan, he had started to hate the sacred ground. He had even wanted to kill his master to avenge Lin Yan. However, how could Pei Yuqing be a match for the leader of the holy ground then? He could only endure and wait for an opportunity. After that, he joined Amnesty and even became the 7th generation of Amnesty. Even so, the terrifying power of the sacred land was unshakable. Until he met Lin Yan at a racetrack overseas. The moment he saw Lin Yan, everything became unimportant. Unfortunately, after experiencing Lin Yan's death, he had been too afraid of losing her. Thus, he had used extreme methods to protect her. Because of his stubbornness, he almost lost her again. If his mental strength hadn't been drawn to her body, he might never have had the chance to get close to her again. That was because he wasn't protecting her. He was hurting her. Chapter 1487. Could it be Xiao Ji? Lin Yan's eyes flickered as she broke Pei Yuqing's reverie. It doesn't look like it. Pei Yuqing shook his head. Why? Lin Yan was puzzled. Back then, Xiao Ji was seriously injured to protect you. He almost died, Pei Yuqing replied. At least Xiao Ji wouldn't want her to die. Lin Yan was speechless. I didn't expect Xiao Ji. I was wrong about him. Lin Yan sighed. Forget it. She would help him push his wheelchair in the future. If she could really recover her abilities, she hoped to be able to treat Xiao Ji's disability. However, Xiao Ji tricked me into going to his house, saying that he wanted to tell me about my background. Lin Yan frowned slightly. I know, Pei Yuqing replied. He brought you there to help you recover your memories. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to recover your memories today. If you recover your memories or abilities, there will be hope for this battle. This battle? Lin Yan was surprised. Pei Yuqing nodded. Because of that video, the sacred ground already knows that you're not dead. The sacred ground has been monitoring your whereabouts every day, waiting for Master to arrive. Can we resolve this peacefully? Lin Yan asked softly. I'm afraid not. Pei Yuqing shook his head. Then won't I die? The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. Although she didn't know how powerful the leader of the sacred ground was, he was Pei Yuqing's master. According to Pei Yuqing, he was the most powerful evolved being in the world. If he found her, wouldn't she die? I'm here. Pei Yuqing gently held Lin Yan's left hand. No, I can't let you take the risk for me. Lin Yan's eyes lit up. Oh yeah, let's run. The sacred ground hasn't been able to find me after so many years. Let's continue running. You take the money, and I'll take you. Pei Yuqing was speechless. Actually, this is what I'm confused about. Everyone in Mountain Sea risked their lives to protect you. But the sacred ground didn't look for you after so many years. Instead, they found your location because of the video. Logically speaking, it's impossible, said Pei Yuqing. How do you know that the sacred ground didn't look for me? Perhaps they couldn't find me. Lin Yan grinned. However, Pei Yuqing didn't think so. Given the sacred ground's methods, it was impossible that they couldn't find it. Heh, you are really naive, my stupid sister. Xing Chun and the others retreated as they gasped in shock. The demoness in front of them was Mu Yu, who looked exactly like Lin Yan. Brother Yu. Xing Chun glanced at him anxiously. Pei Yuqing pondered this for a moment before he replied. Let her in. You guys can leave. That won't do. Xing Chun didn't move aside. Can you stop her? Asked Pei Yuqing. We can't stop him. Xing Chun Chung Mo. And the others said in unison. Lin Yan was speechless. He sounded so confident. Let's go out then, Pei Yuqing replied. Xing Chun and the others had no choice but to leave. Sister? Lin Yan stared at Muyu. Muyu clenched her teeth. Don't call me sister. I'm not fit to be your sister. Lin Yan glanced at Pei Yuqing. What have I done to her? Lin Yan was puzzled. I don't think so. Pei Yuqing shook his head. End of this chapter. Chapter 1488. As the two of them spoke, Muyu laughed. Mu Yan, you're the best at snatching away everything from others. Even your sister. The demoness glared at Lin Yan, her eyes filled with hatred. What exactly happened? You know that I don't remember anything. Lin Yan pinched her eyebrows helplessly. She was tired of guessing. Couldn't she just say it directly? Could it be a melodramatic plot? Lin Yan whispered in Pei Yuqing's ear. What did I snatch away? Did I snatch her man? Pei Yuqing coughed softly. I don't think so. Wasn't he wondering why the sacred ground hadn't looked for you all these years? Muyu grinned. Does it have anything to do with this? Lin Yan frowned. Of course, Muyu replied coldly. Because I took your place to die. Pei Yuqing frowned when he heard Muyu. It seemed like his guess was right. What do you mean? Lin Yan was still puzzled. Since you want to know, I can tell you, replied Muyu. Lin Yan's pupils constricted as she listened to Muyu's words. She looked incredulous. There were two young ladies in the Mu family, and one of them was Muyu. However, Muyu didn't usually show her face. It seemed like the Mu family had deliberately concealed her identity. Hence, Pei Yuqing, who had stayed with the Mu family for a long time, didn't know about Muyu. Back then, the leader of the sacred ground had thrown Lin Yan off the cliff, thinking that she was dead. However, he had received news that Lin Yan was still alive, and had even become the leader of the Mountain Sea sect. Hence, he had sent a guardian to kill Lin Yan. No one had expected that the people of the Mountain Sea sect would risk their lives to protect Lin Yan and allow her to escape. The leader of the sacred ground had been furious and had gone to the Mu family's house personally, claiming that Lin Yan had violated the sacred ground's rules. He had demanded that the Mu family hand over Lin Yan and accept punishment. Madame Mu had indeed handed over Lin Yan, but that person wasn't Lin Yan. It was Muyu. The leader of the sacred ground had mistaken Muyu for Lin Yan, so he had brought her back and executed her. After confirming that Muyu was dead, the leader of the sacred ground had ordered someone he trusted to dispose of Muyu's body. While disposing of the body, that person had realized that Muyu's body had a special structure. She had been dead, but after some time there was a trace of life. That person had tried his best to save her. The person who had saved Muyu was the Azure Dragon who had betrayed the mountains and seas, and was planning to leave the mountains and seas. Pei Yuqing stared at Muyu, knowing that she might be telling the truth. If that was the case, he would have an explanation for the things that he hadn't understood. If it hadn't been for Muyu, Lin Yan wouldn't have survived until now. It was precisely because of Muyu that the leader of the sacred ground had assumed that Lin Yan was dead. Otherwise, the sacred ground would have searched for her. Whether it's you or my mother, you actually treated me as a chess piece. Why did you do that? You wanted me to impersonate you and help you pay with your life? Am I not your relative? Am I not a human? That's right, I remember now. I am indeed not a human. Saying that, Muyu's eyes turned red. Mu is. Mu already. I already. Pei. Mu Lin Yan Muyu Lin. Lin of Lin Yu. Lin. End of chapter. Chapter 1489. After some time, Pei Yuqing explained. Do you remember what I told you? You're the daughter of Shang Yuan, the head of the Shang family. However, you're his only daughter. Why does she look exactly the same as you? Why is she also in the Mu family, and has even become your sister? Lin Yan remained silent. How would she know the reason? Her brain was about to explode. It's possible that she's your clone, Pei Yuqing quipped. Tears streamed down Muyu's face when she heard that. What? Lin Yan's heart pounded furiously. Clone. According to the information I received, your father gave 2 girls to the Mu family. One of them was you, and the other was her. However, Shang Yuan only had 1 daughter, and his experimental skills were unparalleled. Thus, I speculated that when Shang Yuan sent you to the Mu family, he used his experimental skills to clone you. This experimental body was created with your sister's identity to help you avoid disaster. Shang Yuan knew how dangerous your ability was, so he planned ahead. The facts have proven that your father's methods were very effective. Otherwise, you wouldn't have survived until now. From Shang Yuan's point of view, as a father who wanted to protect his daughter, it wasn't wrong for him to use experimental methods to create an experimental body to help her avoid disaster. However, Muyu had been born for Lin Yan. That wasn't fair to her. Lin Yan didn't know what to say. Even though the person in front of her was just an experimental body, she had human thoughts, flesh, and emotions. She couldn't treat her like an object. If what Muyu said was true, she did owe her. That's why I told you not to call me sister. I'm not fit to be your sister. I'm just a puppet that you used to avoid disaster. Muyu's lips curled into a mocking smile. How could she not? She hated her. How could she not? I exist only to help my sister die when she is in danger. I'm just a monster. A monster whose ultimate goal is to die for you. All this is because I'm your clone, your experimental body, and your substitute. I'm not fit to be human. I don't deserve to have feelings or a family. Hee hee. I don't even have the right to hate you. You didn't take everything from me. Without you, I wouldn't even exist in this world. What right do I have to hate you? Muyu's expression was filled with despair and madness. Lin Yan frowned and interrupted the girl. What do you mean by my clone? My test subject? My substitute? You are you, even if I allowed you to be born, from the moment you were born in this world. You are Muyu. What did you say? Muyu froze on the spot. Ever since she was born, she had known her destiny. She had been living in Lin Yan's shadow, and had never seen herself as a human being. No one had ever told her that she was herself, that she was Muyu. Lin Yan studied the girl quietly and said matter-of-factly, "What's the problem?" Not to mention that you're my clone. Even if I gave birth to you and I'm your mother, do you think I can decide your life and death just because I gave birth to you and gave you life? Do you think I can decide the meaning of your existence? End of chapter. Chapter 1490. Similarly, I am me. I will take responsibility for my own matters. I don't need anyone else to take the blame for me. Even if she's my clone, she's not me. There's only one Lin Yan in this world. No one can replace me, including dying for me. However, regardless of whether this was caused by my subjective or objective actions, it has already become a fact. Don't say that you don't have the right, because I gave you my life. If you want to hate me, hate me. I have nothing to say. I owe you my life. If you want to take revenge, do it. As long as you have the ability, I will accompany you. Although Lin Yan said that, she still silently took a step back. She couldn't beat Muyu now. Muyu stood there in a daze, unable to speak for a long time. Although the girl before her had lost her memories, she hadn't changed at all. In her memory, the girl had looked at her with sparkling eyes and said the same thing to her. You really haven't changed at all. You're still so hypocritical. Muyu turned her face away. She did not want to look at the girl's bright eyes. She did not want to think about the girl's words. You are Muyu. Back then, after she had been saved by Green Dragon, she had hated the Mu family, Lin Yan, and everyone else. She wanted to prove to everyone that even if she was a monster cloned by experimental technology, she could still shine as brightly as before. She wanted to become a female devil that everyone feared and respected. She could also use her experimental technology to create evolvers that were stronger and more terrifying than the natural-born evolvers. Just like what she had been doing, she used her experimental technology to create batch after batch of perfect experimental subjects. Which one of them was worse than the natural-born evolvers? She wanted to take revenge. She wanted to use the power of the experimental subjects to destroy the Mu family and her sister. Why was she born to be a substitute? She was clearly Mu Yan. However, when she really wanted to do that, she couldn't do it. She couldn't do anything to the Mu family. She couldn't even do anything to her sister. Even though she had met her sister, who had lost her memories, and her so-called brother, when she had first set up the laboratory. At that time, she could have killed Lin Yin and her so-called brother. However, she couldn't do it. She could only watch as Lin Yin escaped. Perhaps she didn't want her sister to die so easily. Since her sister had taken everything away from her and caused her to lose her family, she should do the same. But she failed again. Just because the girl in front of her was the only person in this world who said, "She is Mu Yu." Mu Yan, put away your hypocrisy. I won't let you die so easily. Mu Yu clenched her fists tightly, but in the end, she snorted and turned to leave. Lin Yin hurriedly stopped her. Hold on. Back then my brother and I were captured in your lab. How is he now? Lin Yin glanced at Mu Yu anxiously. Your younger brother? Mu Yu spoke with an expressionless face. Since you already know about your past, why are you so fixated on someone who isn't related to you by blood? Lin Yin didn't agree with Mu Yu. Even though she wasn't Mu Yun's biological daughter, her feelings for her younger brother were real. Regardless of whether they were related by blood or not, Lin Yin would treat Lin Nua as her brother until she found him. End of chapter. Chapter 1491. Is blood relations that important? I treat him as my younger brother. So he's my younger brother. Lin Yin replied. Is it that important to be a test subject? If I say you're my sister, you're my sister. You don't have to protect me. I will protect myself and you. The girl's tender voice seemed to be echoing in his mind like it was only yesterday. Mu Yu's back stiffened as she said coldly. Go and find him yourself. Lin Yin sighed heavily as she watched Mu Yu leave. No matter what, I've let her down. Pei Yuqing extended his warm hand and stroked Lin Yan's head gently. It's not your fault. If I were your father, I would have made the same decision as him. How could he dare tell her that he had done so many things to protect her and ensure that she would live a good life? Before Lin Yin could reply, she noticed that Pei Yuqing's expression had changed. All the blood had drained from his face. Lin Yin panicked. What's wrong? Pei Yuqing shook his head and steadied himself. I'm about to break through and evolve. I've been suppressing it for a long time. I'm afraid I can't suppress it anymore. Evolve? Lin Yin asked curiously. Isn't that a good thing? Why do you have to suppress it? She wanted to break through and evolve, but she didn't have the chance. Pei Yuqing glanced at Lin Yin and pondered for a moment. Given my current level, continuing to evolve requires a huge risk, especially my body. I might not be able to withstand it. Lin Yin was startled when she heard Pei Yuqing. Pei Yuqing was right. If she had evolved and broken through, there wouldn't have been a problem. After all, she was a rookie evolved being. However, Pei Yuqing was different. His body couldn't withstand the continuous evolution. Just like Xiao Ji, his legs had been crippled because of his evolution. What should we do? Will it be dangerous? Don't tell me. You'll be like Xiao Ji. Lin Yin stared at Pei Yuqing, feeling as though her heart was being gripped by a huge iron claw. There will be a certain risk. Pei Yuqing didn't hide the truth. Don't worry. I've made preparations. I just need to calm down and cultivate in seclusion. During this time, take good care of yourself and the two brats. Lin Yin frowned as she asked the question that had been bothering her for a long time. Pei Yuqing, too many things have happened recently. My world has been turned upside down. Everything I know has changed. The parents I thought were not my parents. Wang Jingyang, who had always been with me, was my brother who grew up with me. The female devil who had always wanted to kill me was my experimental subject. There were also Xiao Ji, Xiao Yao, Xiao Nua. Lin Yin paused and glanced at the man. What about you? Who was Pei Yuqing? What was his identity? What did it have to do with her? Why do you have to do so many things for me and take such a big risk? You should know how terrifying my enemies are. Are you really just an ordinary person who appears by my side? Pei Yuqing lowered his eyes and held Lin Yan's hand. He raised it to his lips and kissed it. I'm just an ordinary person who loves you. If you want, I can even be your husband. Good night. The update is over. Smooches. End of chapter. Chapter 1492. The man in front of her gazed at her, his gaze deep and unfathomable. Lin Yan's heart pounded as she indulged in it. At the same time, her heart was struck by a painful memory. It felt as though it was being bitten by aphids. In the past, she might not have been sure. However, at this moment, she was certain that she was willing to spend the rest of her life with the person in front of her. Lin Yan touched her burning fingers. If you come back safely, I'll tell you the answer. Pei Yuqing's eyes narrowed. Okay. After Pei Yuqing left, Lin Yan sighed and rested her chin on her hand. She couldn't help but worry. She could tell how dangerous the evolution process was. How could she be at ease? Pei Yuqing had been suppressing himself for so long. He had suddenly chosen to take the risk and evolve at this time to protect her. Now that a storm was brewing, the sacred ground could come knocking at any time. If only she could recover her ability. Did she really have such a heaven-defying ability? Could she make someone evolve indefinitely? Lin Yan shut her eyes and tried hard to recall something. However, her mind was blank. There was no trace of the past, let alone her ability to recover. Lin Yan had no choice but to stop trying when she felt a sharp pain in her head. When she returned to the house, Lin Yan realized that Pei Qian and Pei Li weren't there. She searched the area but couldn't find them. Just as Lin Yan was feeling puzzled, she heard the sound of fighting nearby. What had happened? Lin Yan hurriedly followed the sound. In a corner of Cloud Manor, Lin Yan hid in the dark and saw two men fighting with a teenager. Bai He. Lin Yan was startled. The teenager was Bai He, who had been staying at Wang Jingyang's house. Stop! Lin Yan frowned and ran out of the dark. The two men and Bai He were startled when they saw Lin Yan. Who are you? Lin Yan bellowed at the two of them. One of them straightened his back and replied respectfully, Mistress, we were arranged by the 7th generation leader to protect you. This person is a disciple of the sacred ground. Nonsense. So what if I'm from the sacred ground? I didn't hide it from you. That's my senior sister. How could I hurt her? What an indiscriminate fellow. Bai He snorted. Scram. As long as you're from the Holy Land, you're not allowed to approach the mistress. Scram or we'll kill you. One of them shouted. Who's afraid of who? Come on, let's fight. Whoever's afraid is a turtle bastard who doesn't have a butt when giving birth. The white crane was not to be outdone. All right. Lin Yan frowned and turned to the two of them. You guys can leave first. I'll handle this. Hearing this, the two men were in a dilemma. The 7th generation swordsman had instructed them to. What should we do? The two of them looked at each other. If something goes wrong, we won't be able to escape the blame. But the matriarch has already spoken. According to Lord Godong, the 7th generation swordsman is very afraid of his wife, and he follows her blindly. As long as the matriarch gives the word, even the position of the head of the intelligence department will belong to him. Can we afford to offend her? We definitely can't offend him, but we can't let anything happen to him either. We just have to listen to Mistress and keep an eye on that brat. If there's anything wrong with him, immediately come out and kill him. All right, it's decided then. After deliberating for a long time, the two of them finally reached a consensus. End of chapter. Chapter 1493. Why are the two of you whispering to each other? Lin Yan was puzzled. The white crane replied, Senior sister, they are discussing whether they should listen to you or not. You're just a woman, yet you want to command them? Lad, shut your dog mouth. Mistress, don't listen to this lad's nonsense. People from the sacred land like to sow discord. Let's leave now. Mistress, you have to be careful. The white crane grinned as it watched the two of them leave in a hurry. Lin Yan waved at the white crane, gesturing for it to come over. The white crane scurried over to Lin Yin and said, "Senior sister, why didn't you come to see me? I missed you so much. I came a few times, but they beat me up." Lin Yin stared at the white crane and asked curiously, "Why did you come to see me in the middle of the night? Where's Wang Jingyang?" After Lin Yin had found out about Wang Jingyang's identity, she had called him. However, his phone had been switched off. "I don't know. He's not at home every day. I rarely see him. Furthermore, I came to look for you in the middle of the night because I miss you, senior sister. Secondly, I have something to tell you," Bai He said. "Let's talk inside." Lin Yin led the white crane into the room. Lin Yin was speechless as she watched the white crane wolf down the pastries. Wang Jingyang hadn't even prepared food for him? Lin Yin handed the white crane a bottle of water after it was done. The white crane took a few sips before it told Lin Yin, "Senior sister, hurry up and run. Something big has happened." "What's wrong?" asked Lin Yin. The white crane glanced at Lin Yin and fell silent for a moment. "The sacred land has issued a mission to find Mu Yen at all costs. Master and the two most powerful guardians of the sacred land are here to capture you, senior sister." Lin Yin fell into deep thought after listening to the white crane. "Senior sister, what should we do? Why is the sacred land doing this?" "Sigh. This isn't the time to talk about this. Senior sister, hurry up and think of a solution," the white crane said anxiously. "White crane." Lin Yin eyed the white crane and chuckled softly. "You're also a disciple of the sacred land. Aren't you interested in this mission?" The white crane was taken aback when it heard Lin Yin. It stared at Lin Yin in disbelief. "Senior sister, are you implying that you don't trust me?" Bai He said after a long silence. "I'm just curious." Lin Yin shook her head. It wasn't that Lin Yin didn't trust the white crane. If the white crane wanted to do anything to her, it could just wait for the people from the sacred ground to arrive and bring them over. There was no need to go through so much trouble. What she was curious about was why the white crane, a disciple of the Holy Land and the disciple of the Holy Lord, would tell her about these things. "Although I don't know what happened, I know that senior sister is a good person. She has never used her identity as an evolved human to do anything bad. Senior sister has always loved me and taken good care of me. How could I betray senior sister? Moreover, I believe that there must be a misunderstanding. How can master do this?" Bai He's tone was firm. Lin Yin smiled when she heard that. It seemed like she hadn't doted on this brat for nothing. "I'm still young, so I don't know what's right and what's wrong. I only know that bad people should be punished for doing bad things. But senior sister is a good person. Why should a good person be judged by justice? I don't agree. I want to advance and retreat with you. Even if I'm punished by the two guardians, I'm not afraid." End of this chapter. Chapter 1494. Lin Yin stroked the white crane's head and grinned. "Are you so sure that I'm a good person? What if I'm a bad person?" The white crane shook its head hastily. "No, I know you very well. Of course, I trust you just like you trust me." Lin Yin was speechless. Why did this brat have so many principles? "Oh yeah, white crane, what are the two guardians you mentioned? Are they very powerful?" asked Lin Yin. Lin Yin had learned about the sacred land from others because she had lost her memory. All Lin Yin knew was that she had once been a member of the sacred land and had been accepted as a disciple by the holy leader at the same time as Pei Yuqing and Wang Jingyang. Hence, Lin Yin only knew that the holy leader was very powerful, but she had never heard of a guardian. The white crane's expression changed at the mention of a guardian. "A guardian is very powerful." The white crane nodded and said, "If I have to make a comparison in the sacred land, the holy leader represents light, while the guardian represents darkness." "Represents darkness?" Lin Yin was confused. "Yeah," the white crane replied. "When I was doing a mission, I made a mistake. The holy leader didn't blame me, but the guardian punished me. I almost died." The white crane still had lingering fears about the guardian of the sacred land. Lin Yin roughly understood the situation. To put it bluntly, one played the good cop, while the other played the bad cop. The holy leader played the good cop, while the guardian played the bad cop. For a force like the sacred land that maintained the balance and peace of the world, it wasn't enough to rely on the holy leader alone. The holy leader naturally knew this, so there was a guardian who represented darkness. There were some things that the holy leader couldn't do, but the guardian of the darkness could. Actually, I'm not sure about the guardian's evolution level. Very few people have seen the guardian display his strength, but, senior sister, think about it. How could one become a guardian of the sacred land if he wasn't strong? He must be a powerful evolved being. The white crane's logic was very clear. How could one become a guardian of the sacred land if they weren't strong? Senior sister, how can you be so calm? The holy leader and the guardian have come personally. I have never heard of such a scene before. The white crane was puzzled by Lin Yan's nonchalant expression. If it had been in her shoes, it would have peed its pants. Lin Yan was speechless. Actually, there was nothing Lin Yan could do. It wasn't because she was strong, but because she had no idea what was going on. Lin Yan had completely lost her memory of the sacred land. She had no concept of it, which was why she appeared so indifferent. Was this perhaps because the ignorant were fearless? Senior sister, it's all right. If there's no other way, I will speak to the sacred leader. I believe that there will be a good ending. I won't let anyone hurt you. The white crane glanced at Lin Yan. Lin Yan grinned at him. If this matter could be resolved so easily, it wouldn't be like this today. Sister Yan, something bad has happened. Just as Bai he was about to say something, Xing Chen quickly ran in, his face full of panic. Lin Yan glanced at Xing Chen, who was panting heavily. What's wrong? Sister Yan, the two little brats are missing. Xing Chen exclaimed anxiously. Before Brother Pei went into seclusion, he had specially instructed him to keep an eye on Pei Qian and Pei Li, and not to let the two little devils fool around. In the end, the two little devils had disappeared in the blink of an eye. This was unacceptable. End of this chapter. Chapter 1495. Lin Yan had realized that Pei Qian and Pei Li had disappeared, but she had forgotten about it when she met the white crane. Have you searched? Could they be playing hide-and-seek? Asked Lin Yan. Xing Chen felt helpless when he heard that. It seemed like Sister Yan didn't understand them. How could those two little devils know how to play hide-and-seek? No, I've searched everywhere. I really can't find them. Sister Yan, what should we do? Xing Chen was anxious. If anything happened, Brother Pei would skin him alive when he came out of seclusion. Xing Chen's heart was filled with helplessness. As expected, when Brother Pei wasn't around, those two little devils would definitely cause some trouble. However, there was no other way now. The threat of the Holy Land was getting closer and closer, and Brother Pei had no choice but to choose this time to break through and evolve. Where's Lingyu? Call her over. Let's look for them together, said Lin Yan. Sister Yan, Lingyu is looking at Qin Huan and Wu Yu. Go with Qing Mo and ask Lingyu to look for them. Girls are more meticulous, replied Lin Yan. All right. Xing Chen called Lingyu out, and the few of them conducted a carpet search of the manor, but they found nothing. At that moment Lin Yan was really anxious. Lin Yan dialed Xiao Yao's number. After a long time, the call was picked up. Xiao Yao's voice was heard. Who are you? Lin Yan was speechless. Boss, I can't recognize you from my phone. Lin Yan, said Lin Yan. Xiao Yao fell into deep thought. After Lin Yan had recovered her memories, she had been kidnapped by a few powerful evolved beings. He had only been relieved when he found out that Lin Yan had returned to Cloud Manor. It seemed like Lin Yan had lost her memories again. Why are you looking for me in the middle of the night? Asked Xiao Yao. Xiao Yao, something big has happened. The two children are missing. Hurry up and come with me. Lin Yan said anxiously. Oh, I'm not going. Xiao Yao rejected her immediately. She had lost her two sons, but she hadn't looked for them. Instead, she had called him. Besides, those two children weren't ordinary people. Nothing could have happened to them. Lin Yan was taken aback. She hadn't expected Xiao Yao to reject her so decisively. Boss, that's not right. Lin Yan frowned. How can you be so irresponsible? Those two kids are related to you. I'm just helping you take care of them. Xiao Yao interrupted her. Didn't I give you money? Xiao Yao's words rendered Lin Yin speechless. Lin Yin grinned. Boss, this is indeed my fault. However, aren't you worried that the 2 kids are missing? Why don't we? Xiao Yao said. I'm not interested. I gave you the money. There's no rush. You can look for it yourself. With that, the call was hung up. Lin Yin was dumbfounded, unable to process what had just happened. Lin Yin was on the verge of tears. What kind of people were they? Sister Yin, don't be so anxious. Perhaps they ran out to play and will be back soon. Ling Yu comforted Lin Yin. She had no doubt that nothing would happen to those 2 little devils, but she was not sure if they would harm others. No, little Qian and little Li are still so young. What if something happens to them? Lin Yin felt increasingly uneasy. Logically speaking, the 2 children wouldn't leave Cloud Manor for no reason. Unless cold sweat broke out on Lin Yan's forehead. Could Muyu have taken a fancy to those 2 children and taken them away for an experiment? At the thought of this, Lin Yan was extremely anxious. She pulled Ling Yu, Xing Chun, and the others out to look for them. She even brought the white crane along. The update ended. Happy Chinese Valentine's Day, babies. End of this chapter. Chapter 1496. Late at night, in the suburbs, Pei Qian and Pei Li stared at Muyu, who was walking in front of them. That woman looks exactly like Mother, Pei Li said. Exactly the same. Pei Qian nodded, but he dared to control Mother and hurt her. Pei Li's eyes flashed with anger. Hurting Mother is the worst. Pei Qian nodded in agreement. But when we were hiding outside the window, I vaguely heard that she is Mother's sister, just like us. If that's the case, then she should be our aunt, Pei Li said. Pei Qian was speechless. Yes, Aunt, Pei Li said. If that's the case, then it's even more despicable. But she is our aunt after all. We won't kill her. Just teach her a lesson. You go, Pei Li said to Pei Qian. Yes, I'll go, Pei Qian said subconsciously. But when he regained his senses, he frowned. I'll go. Why don't you go? She looks exactly like Mother after all. I can't bear to teach her a lesson, Pei Li said. You can't bear to do it, but I'm cruel? Pei Qian was confused. Yes. Pei Li nodded. Just as the 2 of them were arguing, Pei Li covered Pei Qian's mouth. Stop arguing. Someone's coming. Pei Qian also felt that an extremely powerful evolver's aura was rapidly approaching. Muyu seemed to have sensed it as well and sped up. However, after a while, a black shadow descended from the sky and blocked Muyu's way. The newcomer was an old man with white hair and a stooped body. He looked like an ordinary old man, but his terrifying evolver's aura was as vast as the mountains and seas, shocking everyone who saw it. Muyu frowned when she saw the old man, but she did not say anything. The old man stared at Muyu, sizing her up. He smiled at Muyu and said, Little girl, are you Mu Yan's elder sister, Muyu, or Muyu's younger sister? Protector of the Holy Land. Muyu's eyes flashed coldly when she saw the old man. He's from the Holy Land. In the dark, Pei Li frowned. The Holy Land and a protector. That's not to be trifled with. Is this the Holy Land that wants to kill Mother? Pei Qian was shocked. He had never seen such a terrifying aura of evolution. Just how much had this little old man evolved? What should we do? Pei Qian looked at Pei Li. Let's wait and see, Pei Li said. What's wrong, little girl? Can you answer this little old man's question? The old man smiled at Muyu. I'm your ancestor. Muyu sneered. The old man didn't get angry. He just nodded and continued to say with a smile. Looking at the way you speak, if I'm not wrong, you should be Mu Yan's older sister, Muyu. So what if I am Mu Yan? So what if I am Muyu? The old man shook his head and sighed. Sigh. I was really fooled by your Mu family back then. Between the elder and the younger sister, there's no way to differentiate between the real and the fake. Whether you're Mu Yan or Muyu, I'm too lazy to guess. Killing all of you is the simplest way. Don't blame me for being ruthless. After all, I've learned from my mistakes. Cut the crap. If you want to kill me, let's see how strong you are. As soon as Muyu finished speaking, a strange aura of evolution surged from her body. Immediately, dozens of young men and women rushed over and quickly stood in front of Muyu. End of chapter. Chapter 1497. These are. The old man looked at the young men and women with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Muyu said coldly, "This is the experimental technique that the Holy Land covets. One of the experimental techniques of Shang Yuan, the Shang clan leader. Evolutionary clone. How did you get the Shang clan leader's cloning technique?" The old man was deep in thought. These young men and women were created through cloning. They had no thoughts and were just tools. The Holy Land had negotiated with the Shang clan leader many times, hoping that Shang Yuan would hand over the technique that could affect the balance of the evolved world. However, Shang Yuan refused. The Holy Land had no choice but to assassinate Shang Yuan, but the attempt failed. They never thought that there would be a second person who knew Shang Yuan's technique. "Little girl, as long as I can confirm that you're not Mu Yen, and you hand over this experimental technology to the Holy Land and promise that you won't use this technology to interfere with the balance, I can consider letting you live. What do you think of this deal?" The old man stared at Muyu. So this is the so-called Holy Lands, relying on their own strength to force others to hand over their fruits of labor, doing things like robbing others by force, yet still trying to maintain the balance, protecting the world. What a joke compared to those petty thieves. You guys are even worse. Muyu said in disdain. Upon hearing this, the old man smiled and said, "Little girl, this world is not black and white. Maintaining the balance between the evolved world and ordinary people is not something that can be achieved by just talking about benevolence and morality. Where there is light, there will definitely be darkness." Without giving Muyu a chance to speak, the old man continued, "If we don't do anything in the future, whether it's you or the Shang clan leader, you will use this technology to suppress the Holy Land. If you become ambitious and want to break the balance, no one will be able to stop you. The world will fall into a calamity because of you, and it will become hell. I think at that time, there will be people who will say why the Holy Land didn't take measures in time. How would you know that we are ambitious?" Muyu said. The old man sighed, and a hint of helplessness appeared in his eyes. "You are right. It is precisely because we are not sure that we can only use our methods to eradicate the problem. Fine, I didn't expect you to understand. I don't know what's wrong with you today. Why did I say so much to you? It seems like you are not willing to hand over the technique. If that's the case, let's begin." The old man shook his head. In the next second, more than 10 cloned evolvers charged at the old man fearlessly. However, in less than a quarter of an hour, these evolvers were all destroyed by the old man. Muyu's face was pale. She had just been hit by the old man's palm, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. Just one palm was enough to render her defenseless, and she felt as if her internal organs had been shattered. This old man's evolutionary power was too terrifying. Furthermore, he was not a strength-type evolver. The old man's mental power was also very strong, and his heart was as strong as a steel plate. Mental control and illusions were useless against him. Muyu was proud of her experimental techniques. She was not good at fighting. She needed to return to the lab and use Wang Jingyang's new perfect body. "You can't escape." As if he could tell that Muyu was trying to escape, the old man blocked her path, not giving her a chance to escape. End of chapter. Chapter 1498. She couldn't see how the old man had done it. A second later, Muyu's body flew out like a broken kite, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. "What a pity! What a pity!" The old man walked over to Muyu and sighed. "Do you have any last words?" "UB asterisk starred." Muyu glared at the old man. "All right, I'll accept it. I'll send you on your way," said the old man. Muyu gritted her teeth. She was still looking for an opportunity, but the disparity in power between her and the old man was too great. She couldn't find one. Was it really going to end? She couldn't accept this. She still had many things to do. She wanted to take revenge on Mu Yan and the Mu family. Perhaps she just wanted to ask her father why he had treated her like that. Wasn't she their family? She had once cared about them so much. All the new perfect test subjects are in the laboratory. You know where they are. The key is, Mu Yan, this is the last thing I can do for you. Use them to fight against the sacred ground and protect yourself. I haven't forgiven you. If you die, you will die in my hands, not in the hands of the sacred ground. Since I don't have this chance, I won't fulfill the sacred ground's wish. The corners of Mu Yu's mouth curled up. She planned to use her mental strength to transmit all the information she had. That was all she could do. Mu Yu did not dodge when she saw the old man's deadly palm strike. She had to tell Mu Yan all the information about the perfect bodies in the laboratory at the last moment. Boom! Suddenly, a loud explosion sounded, and a cloud of dust surged out of Mu Yu's body. Mu Yu looked at the scene in front of her in disbelief. Two indifferent children stood in front of her, and the protector of the Holy Land was actually trampled into the ground by the two of them. Are you all right, Auntie? Pei asked coldly. Hey, are you all right? Auntie, you tricked me, Pei Qian replied. You guys, Pei Qian, Pei. Mu Yu stared at the two kids in disbelief. I wanted to teach her a lesson, but I didn't expect to have to save her. How infuriating, Pei said coldly. Infuriating? Really infuriating. Pei Qian snorted. How did you? Mu Yu was shocked. Forget it. You're my sister after all. I can't just watch you die in the hands of others, Pei said. Pei Qian said, I can't watch you die in the hands of others. As soon as he finished speaking, the ground suddenly trembled. The old man burst out of the ground and sent Pei Qian and Pei, who were standing on his head, flying. The old man looked at Pei Qian and Pei and frowned. You really don't know how to respect your elders. You actually dare to stand on my head. Children nowadays. Sigh. Die, old thing. Pei Qian shouted as he threw a few punches at the protector of the Holy Land. The old man only dodged but did not retaliate. As he dodged, he said, Not bad. You have already evolved so much at such a young age. Are you interested in joining the Holy Land? The heavy responsibility of maintaining world peace will be yours in the future. Old thing, you're coaxing a child, and you're still trying to maintain world peace? You've watched too many cartoons. Pei Qian scolded. Forget it, I won't force you. Don't cause trouble and quickly leave. Otherwise I will retaliate. The elder said. Good night, the update is over. Smooches, end of chapter. Chapter 1499. Don't you people from the sacred grounds have any shame? You want to fight back. You even want to hit a child. Pei Qian immediately stopped. Pei Qian, come back. Pei looked at Pei Qian. Pei Qian immediately retreated to Pei Li's side. It was Pei Li's first time meeting an opponent of this level. It would be difficult for him to win. But no matter what, he had to try. Let's work together, Pei Li said. Together? Pei Qian nodded. Listen to my command, go. After saying that, Pei Li turned into a shadow and instantly rushed forward. Listen to my command. Pei Qian snorted. Auntie, you better run first. Pei Qian did not forget to say to Mu Yu. Wishful thinking. The old man stopped dodging and chose to fight back. In an instant, his palm blasted out and shattered Pei Li's left shoulder. However, what surprised the old man was that Pei Li's shattered right shoulder was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Other than his clothes, all his flesh and bones looked brand new. This is... The old man frowned and stared at Pei Li. Could it be that you're the leader of the undying indestructible tribe? You have the magical power of the undying indestructible tribe. Pei Li did not speak and immediately counterattacked. No matter what the old man did, even if he smashed Pei Li into pieces, Pei Li would return to his original state in the next second. He had heard of the undying indestructible tribe before, and knew that their leader had the power of the undying indestructible tribe. However, that was just hearsay, and he did not care about such rumors. Now that he had seen it for himself, he could not help but be shocked that such an ability really existed in this world. No matter how heavy his injuries were, he could recover immediately. The old man had never fought with such a power before, and did not know how to deal with it. He's the undying, indestructible tribe. Are you the same? Soon, the old man's gaze landed on Pei Qian. Pei Qian was slightly stunned when he heard this, and then he said, "Why don't you guess?" The old man did not continue to fight with Pei Li and turned to attack Pei Qian. However, the two brothers worked very well together. Pei Li, who had the undying, indestructible tribe, was used as a shield by Pei Qian. Every time, Pei Li would be in front of him, and the old man could not do anything to him. Be careful. Mu Yu saw that Pei Qian was on the brink of death every time, and could not help but shout out. The strength of the two children had completely exceeded Mu Yu's expectations, especially the eldest, Pei Li, who had an immortal body, and was basically impossible to kill. Even the protectors of the Holy Land could not do anything to Pei Li in a short period of time. Otherwise, they would not have shifted their attention to Pei Qian. Quick, boss, help me block his fists. Pei Qian jumped in fright when he saw the protector's extremely powerful killing move. He was not like Pei Li, who had an undying body. If his head was struck off, he would really be screwed. In the next second, Pei Li's speed was like that of a ghost. He was extremely fast and instantly blocked Pei Qian's side. With a loud bang, Pei Li's upper body was blasted into pieces by the protector of the Holy Land. But then, at a speed visible to the naked eye, Pei Li recovered to his original state. The protector of the Holy Land frowned, and did not know what to say. He had never seen such a shameless way of fighting. This child had an immortal body, and could not be killed no matter how much he hit him. He could only give up and target the other child, but he stuck to him like a dog's skin plaster. Soon, the protector smiled and said, "Looks like physical damage is useless against you. Then how about mental damage?" End of chapter. Chapter 1500. Pei Qian's expression changed when he heard the protector's words. Although Pei Li's body was indestructible and immune to physical attacks, an extremely powerful mental attack could still cause some damage to Pei Li. Although mental attacks couldn't kill Pei Li, the pain was real. At this moment, Pei Qian was thinking of countermeasures, as if he was facing a formidable enemy. However, the protector sighed and said helplessly, "But I don't know how to use mental attacks." Pei Qian's mouth twitched when he heard the protector's words. Was this old man joking around? Why did he say that he didn't know how to use mental attacks? That's a pity. Since that's the case, no matter how strong you are, you won't be able to defeat me, Pei Li said emotionlessly as he looked at the protector. Indeed, the protector of the Holy Land did not refute him. This child was not lying. He had an absolutely immortal body, and was 100% immune to physical damage. Even if the strongest evolver in the world was here, they would not be able to do anything to this child. With his immortal body, he would be able to exhaust him to death. Sigh. I really don't know what to do with you. The protector sighed and attacked Pei Li with his palm. Pei Li didn't dodge. Instead, he attacked the protector with a similarly terrifying palm attack. An explosive sound reverberated in the surroundings. When his palm collided with the protector's, Pei Li suddenly frowned. This palm attack didn't have any substantial feedback. The old man's palm was soft. When Pei Li came back to his senses, his body was tied up. There was a pile of mud-like things on his body. Even though Pei Li used all his strength, he couldn't free himself. What is this? Pei Li's eyes were filled with astonishment. The protector smiled at Pei Li. Just a little trick. It's specially used to deal with evolvers with strange abilities. How is it? You can't move, right? Although it can only last for a few minutes, it's enough. Let me deal with them first, then I'll deal with you. Not good. Although Pei Li's crazy attack was effective, it was just as the protector had said. He would probably need a few minutes to free himself. Why did you drop the ball at such a crucial moment? Pei Qian couldn't help but complain to Pei Li. I'm so pitiful. Pei Li couldn't be bothered with Pei Qian. He had to destroy the thing pressing down on him, as soon as possible. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Little guy, you don't have a shield anymore. What are you going to do now? The protector of the Holy Land looked at Pei Qian and chuckled. How about this? You should leave now. We don't have any enmity, so I won't hold this against you. Leave quickly. You shameless old man. First you wanted to kill my mother, then you wanted to kill my aunt, and you still say that there is no enmity between us. Moreover, you are underestimating me too much. Although I don't have an immortal body, I also have my strong points. You are the first to experience it. Even if you are killed by me, you will be extremely honored. Pei Qian sneered. Hearing that, the protector sighed helplessly. He looked at Pei Qian and said, I really don't see how capable you are. At the very least, you're not on the same level as that child. The child that the protector was referring to was naturally Pei Li. Are you blind? I'm much stronger than him. Pei Qian was indignant. End of this chapter. Chapter 1501. Open your eyes wide and see how terrifying I am. Pei Qian snorted coldly, and the air around him suddenly compressed. The protector was confused and had no idea what Pei Qian was doing. Air cannon. The air that Pei Qian had gathered around him had a qualitative change. In the next second, it was blasted out from his palm. The old man, who had never seen such an attack, was caught off guard and was hit by Pei Qian's air cannon. His left shoulder was penetrated, and fresh blood flowed out. Seeing that his attack had succeeded, Pei Qian raised his eyebrows at the trapped Pei Li as if he was showing off. However, Pei Li couldn't be bothered with him, as he was trying his best to break free. What a powerful technique. I've never seen this before. Air cannon. There's actually a name for it. You're indeed a kid. The protector looked at his pierced left shoulder in shock. He could actually use the air to attack. This kid wasn't simple. However, although this move of yours is powerful, you only have one chance. Now that I'm prepared, you won't succeed. If you had penetrated my head just now, you would have won. The protector of the sacred land said to Pei Qian. I have many techniques. Take your time to learn from me. Pei Qian sneered. Illusion. Air cannon. In the next second, air cannons were shot out from all directions. The angles were very tricky, and there were too many of them. Seeing this, the protector frowned. Although he understood the principle, he didn't know how to deal with it. There was only one air cannon. But Pei Qian used his mental strength to create illusions to disrupt the protector. Hence, in the protector's eyes, there were countless air cannons coming at him, and he couldn't avoid them. The time was too short. Even if he wanted to dispel Pei Qian's illusion, he wouldn't be able to do so. In an instant, the protector was hit by the air cannon again. This time, it's not just piercing through. Pei Qian shouted, and lightning flashed in his eyes. Swoosh! The surrounding magnetic field seemed to change instantly, and two terrifying lightning bolts shot out from Pei Qian's eyes. The moment the lightning dispelled the air cannon, a violent explosion occurred, and the protector was instantly engulfed. Seeing this, Pei Qian immediately ran to Muyu. Quick, quick, quick! Let's escape. We can't win. With that, Pei Qian grabbed Muyu and was about to slip away. Save Pei Li first, Muyu said with a pale face. Don't worry, he's immortal. There's no need to save him. That protector can't do anything to him, Pei Qian said hurriedly. However, before Pei Qian could escape with Muyu, the protector appeared in front of them and blocked their way. Not bad. You have such combat power at such a young age. Your future is bright. The protector of the Holy Land said. He must be a monster. Pei Qian's face was filled with astonishment. Under such a powerful attack, the protector of the sacred land was actually unscathed. It's time for me to beat you up, the protector of the sacred land said as he sent a punch containing destructive energy towards Pei Qian. Upon seeing this, Pei Qian was quite frightened. Previously, Pei Li had been smashed into smithereens by the envoys of the Holy Land many times. The might of this punch was too terrifying. If he was hit by it, He would definitely die. He was not a monster like Pei, who had an indestructible body. If he was hit, he would really die. Be careful. Muyu wanted to push Pei Qian away, but the protector's speed was too fast, and she couldn't do it. End of chapter. Chapter 1502. Don't underestimate me. Pei Qian was furious as he took a deep breath under Mu Yu's astonished gaze. In the blink of an eye, Pei Qian's body expanded rapidly like a balloon floating in the air. The Guardian hadn't expected Pei Qian's transformation. When the Guardian punched Pei Qian didn't react at all. On the other hand, the Guardian was sent flying. I told you. Don't underestimate me. Pei Qian, who was like a balloon, glanced at the Guardian with a smug expression. Muyu didn't know what to say as she stared at Pei Qian, who was floating in the air like a balloon. What kind of strange ability was this? Even she had never seen it before. God of Thunder. A second later, Pei Qian, who had turned into a balloon, was surrounded by lightning. He looked like a huge ball as he rolled toward the Guardian. These two kids are really interesting. The protector of the Holy Land had a strange look on his face. It was the first time he had seen such a strange evolver's ability. It seemed to be different from other evolvers. This was the fourth evolved being with a strange ability that the Guardian had seen in his life. The second was Pei Yuqing, the sacred leader's favorite disciple. His illusions could transform, and he could turn illusions into reality. The third was the child with an indestructible body who couldn't be killed. The fourth was the child in front of him, who had all sorts of strange evolved abilities that he had never heard of before. He even had a name. However, a child was a child after all. He liked to give his abilities cool names. The Guardian had no choice but to face the huge ball head-on. His fist landed on the ball. Ouch! It hurts! Pei Qian wailed in pain. On the other hand, the Guardian's right fist was charred black because of the terrifying lightning around the ball, and his body was sent flying again. It hurts! Pei Qian continued to scream. Although this ability could minimize physical damage, Pei Li wouldn't feel pain or die. However, he would. Pei Li was completely immune to it, while he was only partially immune. The Guardian didn't attack rashly. This child was like a porcupine that couldn't be touched. The more he used strength, the harder the rebound would be. Unless it was a mental power attack. But he did not have any mental power evolution. Not good, I can't hold on any longer. Pei Qian thought to himself. Soon, Pei Qian was like a deflated balloon, returning to normal. The protector stared at Pei Qian with a faint smile. Looks like there's a time limit. Pei Qian pursed his lips. What time limit? That's a move that I've just come up with. I haven't familiarized myself with it yet. If you have the ability, let us go first. Once I'm done with it, we'll fight it out. I've already said that this matter has nothing to do with you guys. You guys can leave anytime you want as long as you don't hinder me. The protector laughed. Without giving Pei Qian a chance to speak, the protector of the sacred land instantly appeared beside Pei Qian, and used the same method he used on Pei Li to imprison Pei Qian. Old thing, let go of me. I haven't used my moves yet. Pei Qian shouted. The protector glanced at Pei Qian. He didn't want to kill these two kids, so he let them stay here obediently. Without Pei Qian and Pei Li causing trouble, the protector walked towards Muyu step by step. Good night. End of update. Moi, end of chapter. Chapter 1503. Senior sister, it's here. The white crane sniffed as it led Lin Yan and the others cautiously. Lin Yan glanced ahead and saw Pei Qian and Pei Li, who were tied up. Muyu was also there. Guardian. The white crane turned pale when it saw the old man. It turned to Lin Yan in shock. Senior sister. That old man is one of the two guardians of the sacred ground. Lin Yan finally understood what the white crane was trying to say. The protector of the Holy Land must have mistaken Muyu for him. However, what was going on with the two kids? Could it be that Muyu kidnapped the two children, and was discovered by the protector of the Holy Land, and the protector mistook her for me, thus implicating the two children? Sister Yan, what should we do? Xing Chen's face turned pale when he sensed the evolution power of the protector of the Holy Land. His body trembled. This level of evolution was not something he could understand. It was completely beyond the scope of his understanding. Such a person couldn't be defeated. Lin Yan remained silent. She could only wait and see. Just then, the protector walked to Mu Yu's side. Mu Yu instinctively wanted to escape, but she was restrained by an unparalleled force. All right, this farce is almost over. I'll send you away. There won't be any pain. The guardian chuckled softly at Mu Yu. The guardian didn't give Mu Yu a chance to react. He used his palm as a blade and slashed at Mu Yu. Mu Yu was severely injured, so she couldn't dodge. She could only let herself be trampled on. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, a figure quickly flashed over, and in the blink of an eye, he used his shoulder strength to send Mu Yu flying. The guardian's palm didn't land on Mu Yu. Instead, it landed on Lin Yan's waist. Sister Yan. Xing Chun and the others turned pale with fright. Senior sister. The white crane was rooted to the ground as well. It hadn't expected that Lin Yan would rush out to block the attack. What's going on? The guardian frowned. He had only wanted to kill Mu Yu. He had no intention of taking anyone else's life. What was wrong with this woman? You. Mu Yu fell to the ground and stared at Lin Yan in shock. She was panting heavily and bent over, as though she couldn't stand straight. Mu Yu's eyes were filled with astonishment. She could not understand why Mu Yan would do this. Was it for her? In her world, she should be the one to bear the pain. Mom! Pei Qian and Pei Li turned pale when they saw that Lin Yan had been hit instead of Mu Yu. However, they couldn't break free. Who are you? Fortunately, I held back at the last moment. Otherwise, you would have been dead. This has nothing to do with you. I won't take your lives. Go away and don't get in my way. The protector glanced at Lin Yan's back. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched as she clutched at her chest. The old man had said that he had already restrained his strength. However, she still felt as though all the bones in her body were about to shatter. If he hadn't retracted his strength, wouldn't he have been torn to pieces? What kind of monsters are these people from the Holy Lands? I'm the one you're looking for. Don't hurt anyone else. Lin Yan wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and turned around to face the guardian. You. The guardian instinctively sized up Mu Yu when he saw her face. Chapter 1504. Immediately after, the protector of the Holy Land smiled in understanding. Very good, very good. Both sisters are here. Looks like there's no need to be so troublesome. Lin Yan stared at the guardian with a frown. I don't care which one of you is Mu Yan or Mu Yu. You will both die here today, said the guardian. She had already made a mistake last time, so she couldn't let them go even if she killed them by mistake this time. Who asked you to come? Why do you have to be a busybody? Mu Yu bellowed at Lin Yan. Lin Yan rolled her eyes. Don't flatter yourself. I'm just here to look for my child. It has nothing to do with you. Mu Yu gritted her teeth. She had come to look for her child. But why had she blocked that fatal blow for her? Lin Yan, who seemed to sense Mu Yu's doubt, replied expressionlessly. She slipped. Don't hurt my senior sister. The white crane scurried over and stood in front of Lin Yan. The guardian's expression changed when he saw the white crane. White crane, do you know what you're doing? The guardian frowned at the white crane. Of course I know what I'm doing. No matter what, I won't let you hurt senior sister. The white crane looked resolute. The protector of the sacred land fell into silence. I'm afraid you can't do that. The guardian shook his head. Senior sister, leave now. I'll hold him back. The white crane told Lin Yan. However, Lin Yan didn't move. Putting aside the question of whether she could escape with Mu Yu and the two children, even if she could, she would not leave the white crane behind to block the protector of the Holy Land. Pei Qian looked at Pei Li anxiously. If Pei Li wanted to break free, he would need some time. However, even if he and Pei Li escaped, they wouldn't be a match for the guardian. the guardian of the sacred ground, is doing something in the territory of the Hunters Guild, yet you didn't inform us. That doesn't seem to be in line with the rules." The man, who was dressed simply, strode out of the darkness. The protector of the Holy Land could not help but look at the man who had suddenly appeared. "Who are you?" The protector of the Holy Land narrowed his eyes and asked the man. "President of the Hunters Guild, Lin Nua," replied the man. "The Hunters Guild?" The Holy Land protector smiled. "Oh, it's President Lin. Sorry for the lack of manners." "Lin Nua." Lin Yan's eyes reddened as she stared at the young man. The man was wearing a simple retro blue-gray suit, black military boots, and a silver wrist guard. He had a cold temperament and a tall figure. Although he had a handsome and unfamiliar face, one could still vaguely see the eyebrows and outline of his childhood, especially the small black mole at the corner of his eye. It was exactly the same as she remembered. Lin Nua had been very close to her since she was born. Since she was young, she had been following her around like a shadow. Later on, when she was abducted into the laboratory, such a small and soft little dumpling, she was obviously so afraid, but she stubbornly wanted to protect her. She stood in front of her like a little lion, and even fought with Sibai for her. When the man's eyes shifted from the guardian to Lin Yan, his cold and dangerous gaze melted like a glacier under the sun. It turned into warmth. "Sister." When Lin Nua's hoarse voice called out to her in a familiar tone, Lin Yan's tears rolled down her cheeks. All the familiar memories surged in her mind. "Xiaonua." Lin Yan dashed over and hugged Lin Nua tightly, as though she was afraid that everything before her was just an illusion. She was afraid that the person she had finally found after so many years was just a dream and another disappointment. The little girl from back then was now a head taller than Lin Yan. She reached out and gently pulled the girl into her arms. Lin Yan, who was crying in a mess, raised her head and pinched her face. Then, she raised her hand and pinched Lin Nua's face. "Xiaonua, is that really you? Am I dreaming?" Lin Yan used a lot of strength to verify whether it was a dream or not. Lin Nua didn't know whether she should laugh or cry. She bent down to make it easier for her to pinch her face. Her eyes were filled with guilt as she said, "It's me, sister. I'm sorry. I should have looked for you earlier. La la la. Little brother is back." End of this chapter. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.